This is Christy, Idaho Painter here on Paint Life TV. Today I got a comprehensive guide on how we go about painting a house. And I'm gonna try to paint this house right here behind me in 2 days, but I got a day of pressure washing and then also a day of prep. So from start to finish, it's gonna be a 4-day process. So we're gonna show you all the steps and give you a real thorough guide on how we go about doing it during all those steps. Today is gonna be the first part of this video. It's a multi-part video. This is gonna be the pressure washing portion where we're going to be washing off this house. Then we're going to let it dry and come back tomorrow and do the prep work. So stay tuned for this comprehensive guide of how to properly, or how we go about painting an exterior house. All right, here we are. We are going to start the pressure washing process of this house. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks, the guide to how we properly clean a house. I'm going to show the tools we're going to be using, and I'm going to start off with a pressure washer. I typically have 2 pressure washers. I have a smaller one. This is a Mighty M Chore Master. It's a 3200 psi. Then I also have a larger belt drive pressure washer. It's a 4000 psi. It really makes getting high places a lot easier, but it takes 2 people to get the thing in and out, and that's in a larger painting van. This one, if you're just on your own, one person can get this thing in and out of a truck or a van easily. So there's the pressure washer I'm going to be using. I got some tools. I start off, one of the most important things when it comes to pressure washing is this nozzle right here. This is an agitating, rotating nozzle, and I'm going to talk about that. I've got a couple guns here that I use. I'm going to show you the guns that we use and some of the tools that go along with that. Here's the gun. This is the gun that comes with the Mighty M pressure washer. This is an essential thing to have, a good quality gun. I like this extension right here. This is a 6-foot extension. This makes reaching high places very simple and easy to do without getting on a ladder. So a 6-foot straight extension. So here's the next gun I like, and this gun has an adjustable nozzle. There's a 3500 psi nozzle. It's called a spray flex. You can get 3500 psi or 5000 psi. So this makes getting in gutters and stuff like that, or around areas you need a flexible end on your gun. So this is attached permanently to that gun if I need it. It's called the spray flex. I do always have a ladder with me, and this is an extending ladder. So this ladder extends up about 22 feet right here, and this makes getting those high places when you're alone. You can easily pack it away in a car, vehicle, or truck. And now I can get these high places with these. It's called an extend climb ladder. So necessary piece of equipment. Rotating nozzle, I want to just talk a little bit about the rotating nozzle, because people see me using this thing all the time, and it actually rotates and spins. You can do a lot of damage with one of these things. You could damage the siding on the house, you could damage the fence, you could even damage the concrete. But when used properly, this is an absolute amazing tool right here. And the reason why I use that is I don't use any chemicals when it comes to spraying the house. I don't like to use chemicals because of the drawback of, killing grass and stuff like that. I know there's other environmentally safe chemicals that won't kill plants, grass, and stuff like that, but I just don't like surrounding myself with chemicals or my customers. So I go just straight water, and this thing rotates, and so the rotation gives like an agitating effect. It agitates the dirt and debris on the house. It makes cleaning the house better, more efficient, and just simply faster. So it's a must-have tool. This one is a Mighty M. I believe this is a 5000 psi rotating nozzle, and the ones that are less psi, they actually wear out a little bit faster. Not so cheap. It's about $90 for one of these things. I've got 3 hoses. I typically run 3 hoses. I've got a water hose hooked up to the pressure washer that's about 100 feet, but then I hook 3 hoses up to my guns because I don't like to have to move my pressure washer around a whole lot, especially if I'm by myself. If I have a helper with me like I have today, it makes it a little bit easier. But still, with the hoses I got in here, with 3 hoses, we probably won't even need to move the pressure washer one time, and that's just very simple and easy to do. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you don't have to go to the extent of having 3 hoses, having all that length. You could rent all this stuff from a rental yard, probably pretty cheap, less than $100 to pressure wash your house. But I'm gonna get up here, start pressure washing. Some of the tips, just don't get too close. If you get too close, you're gonna damage something. Stay a safe distance away. You can work your way to the house as you get more comfortable, but you got metal doors that are a lot less likely to damage, but I've got wood siding, easier to damage, and then you wanna stay away from your screens. You can easily damage a screen with a pressure washer with any type of nozzle. I typically have two nozzles. When I use the rotating nozzle on about 95% of the house, if I got a high peak like that I got to reach, or if I got to knock down any type of hornet's nest and stuff like that, I use a straight shot nozzle, the red nozzle, and it just shoots a straight shot, and it's good for knocking stuff down like that. This house is pretty clean. It's not going to take very long, about an hour to pressure wash it. But enough talking, let's get on with the working part of it so you can see what it looks like. Here we go. I just want to take a quick break right here just to remind you, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell right next to it. That way you'll get subscribed and get notified every time I come out with a new video. If you don't hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, you'll never get notified by email. It's free, simple, easy to do. It's free, just 2 clicks. And then also all the tools and accessories, or some of the tools and accessories, I typically leave down in the video description below so you can learn a little bit more about them, or if you're interested in purchasing them, some of them will even direct you right to our store at store.theidahopainter.com, where you can purchase our really cool shirts, hats, paint life gear, and apparel on your own time. So let's get back to the video. All right, so we're just cruising right along here, power washing. A pointer, if you need glasses, if you're doing any type of stripping or anything, you're gonna have some wood chips or anything that could get in your eyes. Always wear safety glasses. I really love edge safety glasses. But they do get wet and then it's hard to see. So if you're doing any type of stripping and stuff and you need them, always have them with you. Hear protection is really good to have, but if I'm working with somebody, I got somebody here helping me, you can't hear them if you got ear protection on. So if they were in danger and they needed your help desperately, you wouldn't be able to hear them. So I don't like wearing ear protection if I'm working with somebody else. I'll wear it when I'm working alone though. Some tips and tricks, just stay away. I'm typically about this far away from the house. When I get to the windows, I'm washing the windows. I'm even rinsing the windows down and the screens down, but I have a lot of experience and I'm staying about this far away from the screen, and I'll get closer and closer as I'm more comfortable. But you can clean the screens if you're using your pressure washer nozzle right. But I'm just working my way around the house. It's good to work and flood the dirt from top to bottom, because if you start from bottom up, you're just running dirt down onto the lower surface where you've already cleaned and stuff. I'm cleaning the gutters. A rotating nozzle is really great for cleaning the gutters. The gutters are metal. You don't have to worry about damaging them, but clean those things really, really good. You don't want any adhesion issues, because on a house, the most notorious thing to have issues with paint not adhering properly or paint failures is your gutters. So clean those things really, really well. I get really close to those things, hit them pretty hard. But we're going to continue moving right along, power washing here. Another tip is don't let your power washer or pressure washer run very long without squeezing the trigger. That's what cools the pump. So I just have a rule of thumb, never let it run for more than a minute without squeezing that trigger, because I had a DeWalt pressure washer that we ran for about 5 minutes without squeezing the trigger, and it burnt the pump out on it. So that's just a simple little pro tip. We're going to get cruising right along here, pressure washing, and then we're going to allow this thing to dry. It's about 80 degrees outside. We'll let it dry. Here in our very dry, non-humid climate, you can actually come back the next day and start prepping. So I'm going to finish the power washing, and here we go. So just one quick note, when you're watching this video, this 6-foot extension, you're gonna see me use this. I absolutely love this thing, and one of the reasons why, the thing bends and flexes, and it appears like it's probably gonna take more effort to run the thing, but as it bends and flexes, it's kind of like a whip hose on an airless sprayer. It actually takes, you know, less of an effort to move back and forth. Then you don't have to climb ladders either. And it just, that bending motion and swaying motion just makes it easier to maneuver the gun and stuff. A lot less fatigue. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely love these things. But throughout this house, I didn't have to get on the ladder. Probably 20, you know, 3/4 of what I would have had to get on the ladder. So 6-foot extension. If you're on a 2-story house, it's an absolute must. All right, we got this thing all power washed now. A couple other pointers, and I'll just talk a little bit about the siding. So I know I get a lot of questions. The wood siding, or actually it's not actually wood, that's what I want to talk about. It appears like it's wood. The siding, most of the siding here in Idaho is just this fiber board. It's an imitation siding. It's kind of like ground up wood, glued together, compressed, and then a paper put over the top of it. So it looks like wood. And this house probably should have been painted about 5 years ago. And so it's really blistered really bad, and it's kind of falling apart. So you can see when I was power washing, I had to be very careful not to get too close, but it was actually coming, tearing it up just a little bit. But we're gonna go back over that when we do the prepping. We're gonna sand that, peel bond it, and it's gonna look brand new when we're all done. So just be careful. Some of the window screens were really oxidized on that side of the house. The sun was really bad, so I didn't even try to clean those window screens. I just stayed away from them altogether. One of them was really torn up. So that's some tips and tricks doing the pressure washing. When you're all done, it's great to just not get close to the concrete, but what I do is just sweep the concrete with my power washer. So I just blow off any debris and stuff like that. I did, when I was up on the ladder, notice one of the gutters wasn't flowing, and it was completely full of water, which will pose a problem when you come back to paint. So I just got the leaves and everything out of that so the water will flow out of it. And then the way the gutter is actually entirely full, so it's easy for it to just pull off the house. So just a little customer service thing. All right, so we're ready to tackle the prepping on this house. This is part 2, and this is the prepping process. And so today I'm gonna be doing some caulking and some priming. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to do the steps, caulking and priming, some of the tools. I'm going to go over the tools. You don't need a whole lot of tools when it comes to the prepping process. If you got a 2-story house, you are going to need some ladders. I got multiple extension ladders. I got an extend climb out here. I've got a 24-foot ladder too, and I am working by myself. So this is a job I'm doing all alone, going back to my grassroots days when I painted all by myself. So some of the tools when it comes to prepping a house, you're going to need a caulking gun. I like the dripless caulking gun right here. Caulking, you're going to need caulking. Today I'm going to be using Mega Elastic. This is by White Lightning. It's a great caulking product. I really like using high-end, top-end type caulkings, and Mega Elastic is a great caulking. There is a door jamb that's peeling. It's going to need some sanding and grinding to it. I've got a sander. I'm going to be using a 5-inch EcoSand sander right here with EcoSilk sanding pad. It's a 80 grit sander. I really like this Wagner tool right here when it comes to grinding down like door jambs. The Wagner Paint Eater, this thing is absolutely amazing for grinding down rough wood edges, door jambs and stuff like that. And anything that's got paint on it, it won't clog up with these type of the Paint Eater grinding discs. This thing is a great tool, must have for any exterior painter out there. I do wear gloves. So I'm always wearing gloves when I'm doing exteriors. I don't like caulking without gloves because I don't like getting caulking on my hands. One thing that's interesting is if you read the caulking, the instructions on the caulking and a warning precaution, it says not to get it on your hands because I think it's got like, it's cancerous or something like that. Kind of weird. I'm gonna be using a 2-edge knife, and that might have some scraping to do. Another must-have tool is a Linbide scraper. You've got to have a Linbide scraper, got to have a 2-edge knife. It's got a blade on it. One of the cool things about the 2-edge 5-in-1 tool. If you don't know, the tools and accessories typically I use in my videos. You can find them down in the video description below if you want to learn more about the tools or if you even want to possibly purchase them. I typically have a couple caulking guns. I talked about the dripless caulking gun. If that's too expensive for you, dripless makes a less expensive, kind of more like a throwaway caulking gun. When they get enough caulking on them, you just just toss them. But this one, it takes a lot more to squeeze the trigger than that gun right there. The trigger pull on it is way easier. So if you're caulking all day long, this caulking gun is going to cause a lot less fatigue. So I highly recommend that gun. Got a stir whip because I got to stir up my primer. I've got some gable ends up here you might notice. There's the siding on this house. I'll just talk a little bit about the siding. It's not wood. It looks like wood, but it's not. It's a basically kind of like a composite fiber material, like wood that's ground up, like sawdust basically glued together, a paper gone over it, stamped so it looks like wood. And it starts to blister and come apart like this. This house hasn't been painted since it was originally built 15 years ago. That's what will happen if you don't take care of your house and paint it regularly like you should. An easy cure to that is just sand it with a sanding sponge if it needs to be sanded, and then prime it. I use a product, here's one of them, absolutely amazing product, Prime RX. That's from Sherwin-Williams. I like another similar product that's just like that. I think Sherwin-Williams copied XIM Peel Bond. XIM Peel Bond is a little bit better. It's a little bit thicker, more viscous, and I think it performs a little bit better adhesion. If I do any caulking on a door jamb, if I do any sponge caulking, I always have in my tool bag a tile sponge right here. This is a caulking sponge, so I'll have that. I carry a tool bag with me that has some of these tools in it. I got a respirator. If I do any sanding on that door jamb, you're gonna see me make a door jamb that looks really messed up. It's gonna look brand new when it's all done. Well, not necessarily brand new, but it's gonna look way better. So it can't look brand new unless you put a brand new one in there. An extension pole, I'm caulking, got a drill, got some numbers I take off. I typically take off the house numbers and respray those with like a bronze color so they don't look all faded anymore. They'll look brand new. That's part of the prepping process that I go through. So enough talking about tools. I know you want to see me prep this house. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell right next to it. If you subscribe and don't hit the notification bell, you'll never get notified by email every time I come out with a new video. It's simple, easy to do. Click, click. And the email, if you don't like the email, it's simple. All you gotta do is delete it. But subscribe, notify. Now on to the job. All right, here we go. We're gonna start the caulking process. This is basically the first step I do when it comes to prepping a house. Got my caulking gun, just gonna load it up. One of the great things about the dripless gun, it has a knife on it. Just gonna cut it at a 45-degree angle, and my caulking is ready to go. Just gonna load that thing up and start caulking. Now, some of the caulking I do, so some of the caulking serves a purpose, some of the caulking is basically for aesthetic reasons. It's just going to make your paint job look nicer in the end. And so I think it just makes it look more professional, looks more polished, looks buttoned up. And one of those things, I got a vent up here, and this is a soffit vent. And if some of you aren't familiar with it, it's what ventilates the attic up there. These things are nailed on. And caulking around the vent just makes it look nicer once the house is all painted. Now, sometimes it does serve a purpose because those vents aren't nailed in properly and they start to fall down. So the caulking actually acts as a glue and keeps them sealed up there. There's some other things. There's some batting up here that I'm going to caulk. I always caulk the sides of the batting. Once again, that is more for aesthetics, but it also does start to fall down if it wasn't installed properly. Another thing about the aesthetic caulking, if you have a problem with spiders getting in, making spider webs, attracting gnats, it starts to look, your house starts to look all basically dirty after a year because your soffit lights are on, they attract the gnats, the spiders want to eat the gnats, and so they get in these cracks and crevices, and sealing all these little cracks and crevices keep those bugs out. Now, there are certain things you don't want to caulk, and that's typically like your corner boards and your windows and stuff like this, because this siding there's a certain amount of expansion and contraction that goes on. This siding needs to move and float and also breathe to be able to dry out. Now, there are times when people are just absolutely adamant that you caulk these things, and we call that 100% caulking, and we charge a lot of money to do that. I'm not going to 100% caulk this house. I don't like doing that because I like the expansion contraction to happen, because the caulking could break, or if you get water behind there, you could cause mold and mildew issues, so it's not a good practice to do 100% caulking. So I'm going to get up here, caulk this vent up here. If you're doing any type of sanding and stuff like that, make sure you always wear safety glasses. Edge safety glasses, best safety glasses you can possibly wear when it comes to being a painter. I like the polarized versions when I'm spraying. That way I can see what I'm spraying a lot better than if I wasn't using polarized. Once again, I always like wearing gloves. These Wells Mont gloves are great for caulking, and I'm going to just caulk this vent. If you have any excess caulking, all you're going to do is just wipe that someplace on the house that makes sense. Do not wipe it on your clothes. It's one of the things new apprentices have a tendency to do, is if there's any excess caulking, and instead of wiping it someplace logical on the house, because you're going to paint the house and you won't see it, they'll wipe it on the clothes and they'll ruin their clothes really fast. And that's why I don't wipe paint on my clothes. I don't wipe caulking on my clothes. That's the mystery of how they stay clean for so long. So I'm just going to put a bead of caulking around this vent, and you don't want to put too much and you don't want to put too little. If you put too little and don't fill the gap entirely, then what's going to happen is it's going to separate a while down the road before it's time to paint. So I'm just going to lightly smooth that bead out. And the caulking doesn't have to look perfect because the siding on the house is wood, and so it'll kind of match the siding on the house. Now, if I have any excess caulking, I'm going to look for nail heads, see if I got any open nail heads that need to be filled. I'm just going to wipe them on those nail heads. I got some on some corner boards I can wipe there. So it's a good way to just use that excess caulking. If I don't see anything place else to wipe it, I always like just wiping it on the back side of the fascia right here, and that'll get painted and nobody will ever know. And now my hands are clean right there to move on to the next thing. So that's caulking a vent right there. I've got a piece of batting right here. I'm going to caulk the batting right here. A little bit of it is just knowing how much pressure to push, not too much pressure, not enough pressure is going to make your bead not look proper, putting too much or not enough. So here's a crack right here I can caulk. I'm looking for cracks, gaps, anything I can fill with caulking, just like that. Typically you'll see here post these. This hasn't separated down here, but we've got some indentations that have a tendency to hold water. So I'm going to fill those things in. Give a nice bead. Now the water won't pool down inside there. You can kind of see the minerals left behind from the water pooling in there. So I can take and now create an area like this that won't allow water to pool down in there. The water is just going to cause that to wear out faster. Just like that. There's no cracks around the corner of that, so I don't need to worry about any cracks. But that's caulked now. This house, even though it hasn't been painted for a long time, the caulking's held up. We'll walk around here and look for some other areas, the caulk that I can show you down this way on the house. All right, here's the side of the house. This house, it actually was caulked very well, which is a little bit unusual. Usually we have a lot of nail heads to caulk on a house. There's a few on this side that are actually not even that bad, but there's some nail heads that have broken the siding. Typically, the siding itself, the nail head's not supposed to penetrate the siding for warranty purposes, but most of the siders don't follow that rule and have them protruding or breaking the siding. So they really need to be sealed so water won't get inside the house. So it's just a little bit of caulking and a swipe of the caulking. That way it matches the wood there. And it's amazing because that little bit of caulking or that caulking right there, once you spray it, it's going to blend right in and it'll match, and you won't even be able to tell that there was caulking right there. There's these nail heads have been caulked right here. So some have been caulked, some have not. Some have just separated over time, but those need to be caulked. There's not very many around this house. Here's one right here that's penetrated really deeply right there. What I like to see is just, small amounts of caulking. What you don't want to do, find one, like what I'll have a tendency to see guys do is do this and have this big old swipe of caulking. That's a little bit excessive. You don't need to put that much caulking on there, but just make sure it's a nice swipe so it kind of like matches the wood grain. So once you paint it, you won't see it. But as bad as people caulk, typically on this wood grain right here, you won't see it. And once again, it's okay to caulk on this. It's a painted surface and it's not actual wood. You don't want to paint on bare wood that's been hasn't been primed yet. So we're gonna walk around, see if we can find some other areas that we're gonna caulk on this house. We'll head around the back. All right, here's another spot right here we're gonna be caulking, and this is the corner right here. One thing you wanna look at, back sides of fascia, very notorious for needing caulking. Once again, this is very unusual because this house was caulked very well. Usually these things aren't caulked, but here's a piece of batting right here that hasn't been caulked. We got a gap right here that I'd kind of like to fill. The corner back here is not filled in, so we're gonna fill all this stuff in right here, make it look a little bit nicer. Look a little bit nicer. Keep bugs out, like this right here can be filled in. Once again, some of this is kind of like aesthetic caulking, some of it serves a purpose. It all serves a purpose if you don't like bugs in your house or making nests or spider webs. Now it's going to fill that in. That'll look a lot better right there. So now once again, I got some excess caulking right here. I could wipe it on some of these nail heads, possibly. I could wipe it on this crack right here, there, get rid of it. What I don't want to do ever is wipe it on my clothing. So many people complain about the cost of clothing, painter's pants. When you're paying $70 a pair for painter's pants, you don't want to wipe anything on them. So we're going to try to really button this corner up right here. The back side of this fascia hasn't been caulked, so we're going to caulk that. Sometimes the siders kind of like really hack things up, and hopefully no siders are watching this video. Get a little mad at me. There's a little crack right there we can fill. So here's a corner board that's separated, and once again, this is the siding itself. It's very notorious for when it gets wet, it swells up. Once it swells up, it's like that forever. There's nothing you can do about it but replace it. And the bottoms of these boards, they are like open porous. It's basically, I like to describe these houses as glorified cardboard. That's all this really is. This is swollen up. If the customer doesn't like it swollen up on these edges and stuff, you're gonna have to replace the whole entire corner boards. It's very rare that a customer wants to do that, but it is torn up a little bit right here. I always keep a sanding sponge, with me in my tool bag, and I can just sand that corner down, and so it doesn't look all beat up. Now that's gonna make that look a little bit better. If you start messing with this and start tearing it up, then it's just going to get worse. What I'm going to take is now that I've sanded that, this is exposed, basically fibers and stuff. We're going to come back after the caulking. We're going to use Peel Bond. Peel Bond's going to glue that stuff all back together. It's a great idea to get Peel Bond underneath there. That'll seal that so it won't be taking up water anymore. All right, so we've got this corner, got this all buttoned up right here. Majority of times, this batting and stuff, it typically needs to be caulked. It's great. I'm so happy because I'm working by myself today. And so I'm painting this whole entire house by myself. It's like going back to when I started my painting company 20 years ago, something like that. I was working out of the back of my truck. I'm working out of the back of my truck now, Paint Life TV truck. So, so if you're out there painting alone, I know what it's like. So here we go. We're gonna cruise down here. I'm gonna see if there's anything else I can find. All right, here's the window here. We got a crack. Sometimes you have windows that aren't caulked at all. Sometimes you have caulking like this that's cracked. What I don't like to do is try caulking this right now because the window, even if it's white vinyl, I don't want to get white caulking on the white vinyl because I'm not going to paint that portion of it. And then down the road, the caulking is going to yellow, collect dust and dirt because it hasn't been painted. And that's the case with these windows right here. The windows were painted, then they were caulked, and the caulking has collected a lot of dust and dirt, and it doesn't look very good. What we do is we mask this window off the day that we paint. So we mask perfectly right along the vinyl, and then the crack is going to be exposed. Right before we do our trim, we're going to caulk that, paint our trim, and then pull the masking off, and then that will be filled. So that's always left for the day of painting. There's just some nail heads right here that have been caulked but could be smoothed out a little bit more. So there's caulking just coming out of the end of my gun, and I was able to just dispose of that caulking very simply and easily, just like that. Here's another thing I do. I like to caulk. So this is a tricky situation up here. We're gonna jump up top, and I'll show you what we're looking at up top here. So this gap, I like to caulk this board right here, typically where it meets the siding. And once again, that's kind of an aesthetic thing, but it's weird because the board, this trim board right here, is kind of met the siding right here in an unusual place. And it's gonna be really hard to caulk that without getting it right there. So I'm gonna forego doing that this time, but I'm gonna caulk this right here that is kind of separated a little bit right there. So we'll caulk this bead all the way along here. Tops of windows, anything that is exposed to the weather, tops of windows should be caulked. This is exposed by an overhang over here, and it's also really hard to get the caulking in this crack right here because the siding has come here. It's kind of left a weird little gap right there. So I can't caulk that and make it look nice, and it doesn't matter because it's not exposed to the weather right here. On a side like that, you'd want to caulk a window because water, rain could hit the siding, run down, and it'll run behind the window. And I can't tell you how many times the windows weren't flashed properly. Water gets inside the house because of that. And I'm not gonna bash siders, again, but that's a siding problem. Very common here in Idaho. Let's move on to the next thing here. All right, here's one thing that I would typically do 100% caulking on. And I did, once again, going back to that whole expansion and contraction thing, I don't do these boards. This is where all the siding meets right here. You need expansion, contraction to happen there. You need it to breathe. But when it comes to something like this, I don't know, it's kind of this big old unsightly thing. I try to make it look just a little bit nicer. So something like this, I typically will do 100% caulking on this. So I'm gonna caulk all around the sides of this. I'll caulk the top of it. If it's really hot outside, one thing you gotta be aware of is don't put too much caulking on because your caulking will start to dry too fast, or don't go too far with your caulking without smoothing it out because it'll dry too fast, start to coagulate, and then it won't be workable. So just keep up with what you can do depending on the weather. So I'm just gonna put a nice bead of caulking around this. Now that's gonna make that look a little bit nicer. get rid of some of my caulking on some nail heads here. This is the called the art of disposing of your excess caulking, and I just now made that up, so that's a term new today. So get rid of some on here. I can get rid of all this, and now I can put a bead of caulking even right here on that to get rid of that gap right there. Right here, this gap right here. I don't know. So, I mean, to me, you know, this is gonna just make your job look a little bit more polished. And this is one of the things like do-it-yourselfers don't understand, all these little things that can be caulked to make the house look a lot nicer and tighter. And even a lot of professionals don't even, you know, understand that. I was just out at a job site here last week at a professional painter, and there wasn't almost anything caulked on the house. And, you know, here's one thing too. This is the back side of the house. Nobody can see back here, but the front of the house, the more prep work you do, the more impressed all the neighbors are, all the people driving by, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this guy's done so much prep. And that's gonna be more impressive to the customer or potential customers than the paint job itself, is the prep work you do. So prep work is important. All right, now we're working on the worst side of the house. This side's got the most weather. It's getting hit by sprinklers really bad. And just because of the expansion, contraction, the sun, the heat, a lot of nails, you know, are popping up. And so this is where we're just gonna wanna take a hammer, reset some nails, and there's gonna be a little bit more caulking. This is the side that it's really important to caulk. The top of the windows, they are caulked, but they're all cracked. So you definitely wanna make sure you re-caulk these things and put a nice, sizable bead of caulking on. That way it'll seal that window. Now I've got, let's see, it's not too bad, but some of these are borderline caulking them and then, or setting them and then caulking them. But we just hit a few of these, not too bad. This needs to be reset. You can see it's sticking out really good if the camera can see that. Some of this flashing is in really bad shape. I don't know what the heck happened to it. It's all banged up. But well, that looks good. If we get down here, take a look. Here's a little bit of blistering right here. This is, you can see, blistering and peeling paint. This will, and the sprinklers are hitting it, getting underneath here. And this is all getting messed up from water. That's water damage. Linbide scraper, you can scrape some of the stuff off that's sticking out. You got to be really careful, don't get too carried away, because this is just cardboard and you could really damage it. But the Linbide scraper, I've got a carbide blade. These are reversible carbide blades that make the scraping so much easier. That's proper English. Easier. Wasn't an English major, so I'm not sure if the cameraman was. I don't think he was an English major either. But it's really important to get underneath here, and the camera might be able to get underneath here in a minute and look, but underneath these laps, they're all swollen, separated. Extremely important that you brush Peel Bond underneath that and seal that all up. Here's this one, sprinklers, once you get hitting that, you can see it's all starting to fall apart if I start to scrape too much. I'm just gonna leave that alone. Don't want to have the house fall over from scraping too much. Get up here, here's another window. Nice heavy bead of caulking. Not too many nail heads, a few that need to be set. Not too bad up there. We'll get with an extension ladder up there a little bit later. Doing all the low stuff right now. It's always nice when you have the guys do the high stuff, but there's no guys. It's just the guy today. So it's just me. And now we've come to the side of the house that always has caulking. So we got a big hole right here. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not a sider, but I'm not the cable guy. I'm not the electrician, but I just don't understand, this whole scenario right here where we just drill a hole in the house and stick a couple wires in there and then don't put like a grommet or something like in there to seal that up. But you can take this, once again, this is a really high-end caulking, and it will fill that hole. And because all that is an air leak and the entry for spiders, scorpions, snakes, lizards, anything else you can imagine coming into your house. So why leave the hotel room open right there? So that's filled right there. Here's a couple things aesthetically we can fill, make this look a little bit nicer. Caulk the top of this little board here. It'll make that look a little bit nicer. Kind of just, I don't know, button that up. It'll make it kind of look like more like one piece. No, some of this kind of looks, maybe it looks messy, but once you paint it, you'll never see all these caulking spots, and it's gonna look so much better. So that's all good there. We're gonna work around. I don't see anything else back here. See some stuff up high, but we'll work around the front now. So I caulked the top of this. A lot of times water is gonna hit the top of that. Leak behind there. Made a nice bead of caulk right there so the water will run off. Got some gaps right here on the garage trim. This is very common to see this right here. So we'll fix that. This all looks good. Corbels, that's this stuff up here. We usually don't caulk any of that. It's an imitation shake. That's not shakes, it's just fake. In Idaho, we like all of our stuff fake for some reason. Fake siding, fake shakes. It's just how we roll. Hi, get it? All right, here, fill this. And I'll tell you, like, somebody's bound to say in this video at some point in time, somewhere, that I missed something, or I didn't caulk that vent good enough, or there was a spot you missed, and I get that and understand that. And I'm making a video, so sometimes I miss things because I'm making a video. But also, as a painter, when I'm not making videos, we miss things. So what we always do is we tell the customers, if they call us up and ask us, this is our initial prep work. And then who's ever spraying, when I'm spraying the house, which will be me spraying this house, when I'm spraying it, I typically always have a caulking gun with me. I used to absolutely love the caulking gun holsters. And I'm gonna see if I can find one, because I would have my caulking gun in a holster, and when I would see things I would miss, I'd pull them out, caulk them right then and there, and then move on with the spray in. And so nothing ever got missed. So everything just kind of got buttoned up, and the final caulking was done the day we were painting and spraying. So I'm gonna check the top of this. I was gonna look at the top of this to see about caulking this, but the Grand Canyon's up here, so there's no way you can caulk that. And that's, I just saw right here, there's kind of a water issue. Water's coming down here, going behind the siding, that's not good. So cider, whoever did this, that's not good. And so I could stuff some backer rod in there and try to resolve that. Not today, but when I come out and paint, I'm going to try to resolve that. It's a gigantic gap up there that caulking can never fill. It's allowing water coming down here, going on top of this, and then running behind this siding, and it's coming out through this crack and running down there. And that really should be resolved. All right, now I've kind of worked my way around to the entryway. And I have to say, this is the most important part. So just a couple pointers. If you're not very skilled, you know, at caulking, get your practice on the sides of the house that aren't important, and do this last until you've really polished up on your skills. If you have a painting crew, don't let the new guys do the entryway. The entryway is what you want to look really good. And the entryway is what I do more caulking on than anything when it comes to like aesthetic caulking, because you want this to really look tight, neat. You want to do a lot of caulking to just get it all buttoned up, all the gaps and cracks filled, so no bugs will be around the entryway and stuff. The least amount of gaps and cracks will deter bugs from finding homes and stuff. So I'm gonna do a lot of caulking. New guys, you know, this is where it's best to get a wet sponge in their hands, so they're not making messes, because I'll tell you, and once again, I say a lot of the things I say from experience, and usually that experience was a negative experience that I had in my career. And I've had new guys caulk the entryway, start on the entryway. I wasn't there. I come back and it was an absolute disaster to have to fix everything on. So, you know, get your practice. Even me, I mean, I started on the sides, you know, to, you know, get in the, what I call groove, or get in the flow, like spraying. I like to say, get in the flow of spraying, get in the flow of caulking, and then work your way around to now I'm feel like I'm a pro again, you know, because it's been a few days since I caulked, and I'm ready to go. I'm in the mood to caulk good. So here I am. All right, we're back in the back now, and I talked about sponge caulking, and here's the situation, because I want this to look really nice. And I got my caulking sponge back here, and I'm gonna caulk this door now. I know I'm gonna have somebody say, you're not supposed to caulk the door. And the door, because this door itself, if you wanted to remove this thing, I mean, this is the functional side, non-functional side. I don't know if the glass or something like that, or you want to replace this for some reason. If you caulk it, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult, but it's kind of been sealed with paint and other stuff, so it's already going to be difficult to do. It's going to look a lot nicer if you caulk it. And every door that I've ever seen, they typically are caulked. This one's not caulked, and we re-caulk them or caulk them. So, and I've never had somebody call up and say, hey, look, why'd you caulk this? And 20 years. So that's kind of like the industry standard, what we do, but I want it to look nice. And here's a caulking sponge right here. And this just gives you the ability to wet your hands, clean your hands, to get a really smooth, clean bead. I want this thing to look really, really nice. I clean off the end of my caulking tube so I can see the angle of how I'm putting on the caulking. And I'm going to put a really nice clean bead on this thing. And you can see there's some air pops in there, which is not good, but that's pretty common these days. I'll wipe off the end of my tube, run another bead along this side, keeping the angle so it's facing in, filling up the whole crack. Once again, we're not skim coating, but we're filling the entire crack. And now it's all full. Clean the end. Now I'm gonna wet my finger. And this is gonna give you working time and give you a smooth bead. Wipe off the excess on my finger and wipe it. It'll give you the ability to get a really nice clean corner if you keep wiping your finger in that corner until you get it exactly the way you want it. If you didn't put enough caulking in there, you can put more caulking and do it again as long as it's still wet. But that's looking pretty nice right there. Kind of liking that bead. Need to go along the edge right here. This edge right here. Now once this is painted, this is gonna look like a like it was factory caulked, factory done. That looks pretty dang good. I'm pretty happy with that right there. It could be a little bit, just keep working it with your finger, wiping it, wetting it, wiping it, wetting it. You can see that's still wet. If I wanted to fill it in a little bit more, good. Because I'm short, it's a little bit hard to get up in here, but a lot of times I like to work on a 4-foot ladder, but that's kind of a little bit better right there. There it is. So that's sponge caulking that door jamb. The door jamb on the side over there, I'm going to take my paint eater to it, sand it, and then I'm going to caulk that, and I'll probably sponge caulk that door jamb too. Just drop this in the water, the caulking's not going to dry on it, and I'm good to go. All right, so here we are with this door jamb. It doesn't need a ton of work, but I've seen way worse than this. But we're gonna sand it with our paint eater and get some of these the peeling edges and stuff feathered out and stuff. First thing we want to do, we don't want to mess up the weather strips, and the weather strips come out very easily normally. Except this time, you just pop them out with one simple use for your 5-in-1 tool. These guys are in there really tight. But you could damage them. You don't want to paint the door. I can't tell you how many times do-it-yourselfers don't pull them out, paint them. Even professional painters don't paint their weather strips. Not a good idea. It doesn't look very professional. Here's some caulking that's kind of coming out, so we can get that, pull that stuff out. We don't want that old caulking that's kind of messed up right there. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start off with my paint eater. So I'm going to close the door because I don't want a bunch of dust going into his garage. I'm going to be using a respirator. Always wear a respirator when you're sanding. All right, we got the dirty part done. That's the part I don't like doing, is getting all dusty and dirty. But I'll tell you, like some people are gonna ask me, well, why am I using the paint eater and then going over with a sander? Why don't I just use a sander? Why don't I use a paint eater? The paint eater, it feathers out the paint edges like a sander won't. It takes down the edges about 3 times faster than a sander will. So I hit it with the paint eater, feather out all the peeling paint edges. This will take off paint, the sander won't. And so they kind of both serve 2 purposes. The door jamb's looking pretty dang good now compared to what it was. I'm gonna caulk it, and then I'm gonna spackle the nail heads, and then I'm going to put some peel bond on that. So I'm gonna take and sponge caulk this thing now, and then we're going to go on to doing some peel bonding on the other side of the house. Let this caulking dry, and then we'll come back and do some priming on it. All right, so now I'm getting ready to do some peel bonding. I'm going to be working on these. The only thing, I got a door jamb back there that needs peel bond on it. The rest of the house is in really good sound condition, even though it's been 15 years since it's been painted. But we've got a lot of blistering, on these shakes right here. So I'm going to peel bond those. I got my peel bond. A little trick: peel bond dries clear. So all that work you go to doing primer, you can't even tell where you've gone if you've gone around the house. So we actually add white tint or white paint, just a little bit of it, and then you can see everywhere you've gone when it dries. Another thing it does, everybody that drives by is going to be able to see the priming that you did, and they're going to notice all the hard work you did when it comes to the prep work. So you want the customers, you want your customer, you want prospective customers to see that. And I can't tell you how many jobs I've sold just because the amount of prep work we did and the people noticed it driving by. So I got my peel bond here, added some white paint. A handful of white paint to it, and it's just going to give it that translucent white look. Gonna stir it up and then begin doing the priming. Very simple. Some people like to roll it on, some people spray it on. My entire career, I've always just brushed it, and I typically use a 3-inch or a 4-inch brush. I don't have a lot to do today, so I'm just using a Premier Riverdale brush to brush it on, and that's it. One of the tricks of this stuff is putting it on super thick. You don't want to put a thin coat of it. You just want to actually cake it on, and that way it'll fill in blistering, fill in dry spots. If you see anything you need to sand, so I do like to keep a sanding sponge with me also. I can sand anything that I need to sand while I'm here. Sometimes the blistering has to be sanded to smooth it out. Otherwise, you'll still be able to see it after you've peel bonded or peel bonded it and painted it. So just working right along, peel bonding, just sanding this stuff and just trying to hit everything that is exposed and blistered now. And you don't have to be very particular about how you get it on. Just get it on nice and thick. And so to just glue all this stuff back together, I'm trying to get underneath the laps too that are causing some of this stuff. The water soaking underneath all these things, all the shakes, and working itself up and causing it to swell and peel. So just cruising right along, just nothing special about this. It's just doing a good thorough job. I've got another sanding sponge. I'm using a 3M sanding sponge. Before I was using a sanding sponge that was a fine sanding sponge, but it just makes the sanding process, I was using not a 3M, I was using EcoSilk fine sanding sponge. Now I'm using a 3M medium sanding sponge, which makes the sanding a lot faster, which I'll show you as I get up here, do a little bit more sanding. It knocks it off. It's really easy to sand with the sanding sponge. It's nothing difficult because it's extremely dry, extremely brittle, but it's very important that you knock it down and smooth it out. So we got all of our prep done. I just wanted to walk you around the house and show you, some of the things we prepped and why we prepped it. And you're gonna see some white peel bond primer everywhere where I put Peel Bond primer, you're also going to see nail heads where nail heads penetrated the siding and we caulked over the nail heads. You can actually put Peel Bond over the top of the nail heads. It does the same effect as caulking does, and so sometimes we'll brush Peel Bond on the high stuff versus caulking it. But I've got down here, we already started going over it with paint, but so you can't see it, but here's some Peel Bond right here. Brush it underneath the lap right here because we started to have some separation and some swelling. Did some nails heads here. We'll walk over here to the corner board here. Here was a corner board that had a bunch of swelling on it right here, so we wanted to seal that up really well with Peel Bond on the bottom to really waterproof it. Cut edges underneath here, the bottoms, I like to run Peel Bond up under here to seal that. You can see this is swollen because it got wet at some point in time and swelled. We want to seal that. It's a cut end on the siding. So anywhere there's a cut in, you typically want to seal that. We'll walk down here and show you some more stuff down this direction. All right, so on the back side of the house here, this has a big overhang, so there's not a lot of damaged siding, swelling, or anything, but this is the exhaust for the heater. I like to 100% caulk around there so it looks a little bit nicer. Peel Bond to the top up here and the cut ends right there. That was dry. We did have a little swelling right there. Caulk that. Up here, a few nail heads up top. Put some Peel Bond on top of some of the windows. Once again, a little bit of blistering here. Sealing the bottom cut ends, bottom of the window there. This side of the house, we'll get around to this side of the house and you'll see where there was a lot of sun and blister damage, and we'll walk you through that. So here's the corner right here. There's a sprinkler head actually down here that's obviously hitting the siding, causing a lot of water damage. So we need to get the homeowner to adjust this sprinkler head right here so it's not doing that. It's all swollen on the bottom, a lot of swelling underneath the laps. So we brushed Peel Bond underneath all that. This whole section, you can see the mineral deposits from the sprinklers hitting it all the way up this high right here. So that needs to get repaired, or you're going to continue to do damage to the siding, even though you prime it and paint it. So we've got this all primed with Peel Bond. Tops of the window there, we always want to do the tops of the windows that are dry. Tops, bottoms, cut in. I missed the cut in right here. We'll go back and hit that, before on our final priming that we're going to be doing. So this side right here, there's a lot of sun up here. We hit some nail heads up top, brushed them with Peel Bond, and a lot more Peel Bond over here. And then there's a door jamb, pretty messed up. We'll show you what we did on that. So here's the door jamb. This thing was pretty beat up, water, sun damage to it. We sanded it with first with our paint eater, then we sanded it with our Ecosand orbital 5-inch sander, and then I put a coat of Peel Bond on it, let it dry. It was dry within about an hour. We sanded again and put a second coat of Peel Bond on it. Now it's looking a lot better. And the rest of the siding, this is still the same side. Up high, we had a bunch of priming with Peel Bond, some blistering on the gable ends up high up there. Once I got up high, it didn't look like there was much prep work to do up high, but when I got up there, you can see it from a ladder when you're there up close. Just sanding with a sponge, hitting things, knocking the blistering down, and then hitting it with a the Peel Bond with a brush. And that was all up high on these two. We got gable ends right here. We'll walk you around to the front of the house, show you the last stuff that we primed, and then we're gonna end up showing you painting the house. All right, we've got the front of the house here. Now, we did a lot of priming up there, spot priming on the shakes. I know a lot of people are probably gonna ask, why not just prime the whole house? Well, there's two reasons. You're gonna use significantly more primer, and you're gonna be priming areas of the house that don't need to be primed. So it's gonna be significantly more primer and significantly more work. I did tops of some of the trim boards right here because the tops of them are pretty dry. We got some corner boards that needed to be primed with Peel Bond, the shakes. all the tops of the core boards, when I got on top of those, when I looked at them from a ladder, you could see they were all bare wood and dried. So I brushed some peel bond on the top of those. And so this is got the whole house, the tops of the doors, the garage doors, they kind of got this flat area that's not ideal. Snow sits on top of them, rain sits on top of them. Hit that with peel bond. So there's a look at what it looks like, the whole priming process and the prepping process. And it took me probably about, myself 4 hours to do all of that work. And once again, the house itself has been painted before. The paint is in still sound condition. There was some isolated areas that need primer and need attention, but you don't need to prime the whole house. It's already got a coat of paint on it. Now, if there was just exposed wood everywhere, blistering everywhere in the entire house, then we would contemplate whether we would reprime, or prime the whole entire house. But once again, these shakes up there, it's a lot quicker just to hand brush those gables up there. And they're, once you get up there, you can see the separation and the blistering, and spraying it on is not good enough. You really need to get a brush and really push it in and penetrate and seal that up with your primer. All right, so we're out here now. We're gonna get started with the painting process, and I'm gonna walk you what it looks like to just get going in this painting process. All the tools and accessories we typically use are going to be available in the video description to purchase or to get more information about them. So check the video description below after this video, or you can go check out our store at store.theidahopainter.com to purchase paint life gear, tools, and accessories. But here we are, we're out here. How do you go about tackling a house like this alone or with a small crew? I just drove up. Just started unpacking some of the tools, just gonna lay things out, and now we're gonna begin the painting process. One of the very first steps in this painting process is to get sprayers set up. I'm gonna be, looking at this job alone. I'm gonna be painting today garage doors and the gables. I'm gonna tackle those things first, and it's already noon, so I'm gonna try to just do those today. We're gonna show you what that looks like. The garage doors are one color, the gables are another color. I have multiple sprayers. You're gonna be a lot faster, more efficient with multiple sprayers, but if you don't have multiple sprayers, you can do this just with one sprayer. I'm gonna be using today a Titan 840 to reach up and do the high stuff with long hoses. I'm gonna be using a Titan 410 to shoot those garage doors, and probably the man door on the side over there. But you need to get water going. We wanna get a hose set up and multiple buckets set up with water, filling those buckets up. I'm not gonna stand there and fill them up. We're just gonna let the water trickle, start to fill them up, because if anything goes wrong, you need water. And you're also gonna need water, to clean tools and clean sprayers if you only got one sprayer, and you're gonna be shooting multiple colors. One of the other very first steps, we've got to get this thing ready to paint. And what I like to say is we need to do lights, numbers, and downspouts. So we got to get everything off the house that we don't want to paint. So I've got numbers on the house, they've got lights on the house, downspouts. We're going to remove the downspouts because we're going to spray them down on the ground. We want to be painting behind them. There's some flagpole that holder that holds the flag. So we're going to be removing, all those simple things. It's called lights, numbers, and downspouts. If I'm working alone, I'm going to go do that stuff first while my buckets are filling up, and then I'll get my sprayers ready. But I've got a helper today that's going to be getting the buckets ready, and then I'm going to be doing lights, numbers, and downspouts. So we're going to walk you through this process now and stop talking to show you what it looks like painting. I'm gonna start doing what we call lights, numbers, and downspouts, and this typically happens pretty fast. I'm gonna start with the numbers to just give you a pointer really quick. I'm gonna be taking off the numbers themselves in my tool bag. I always carry a Phillips head bit, so I'm gonna grab my Phillips head bit to remove the numbers. And if it's not your house, we've done this before. We'll pull the numbers off and we can't remember what the address is. You can go look at the mailbox, and the mailbox will tell you if there's a mailbox. But we run into situations where there was no mailbox, couldn't find the address. So take off your numbers and put them. I'll show you what I do. I'm going to remove them because we always take and repaint these numbers. These are black, kind of faded and stuff. We paint them an oil rub bronze color. I'm going to set them on a cardboard because I'm going to spray them with an oil rub bronze. I'm going to punch the screws right through the cardboard, and I'm going to install them on the cardboard, just what the address is. That way you won't forget what it is. So it's 2998. Just remove these. We're going to be painting the screws too, so we want the screws going right through the number. We'll just spray these right away so they have plenty of time to dry, and then we'll reinstall them after we're done painting. So I'm going to take this, set this, and I'm going to remove a couple other things out front and then get on to some spraying. All right, here's another thing. A lot of do-it-yourselfers, even professional painters, you'll just paint right over something like that. I mean, I don't like to paint these things. Simple Phillips head screws. Just gonna remove these. And here's another, just handy little trick. I always put my screws back in right where they came from, and then I'm gonna put some tape, frog tape, right over the top of that and seal that so these don't get lost and they'll get in a bucket. I can't tell you how many times somebody sets this aside, the screws get lost in the grass or they get separated and then you can't find the screws to reinstall it properly, and that just goes into not painting a house efficiently. So I'm going to cover these things up with frog tape so they're stuck together. So I'm just going to set them inside of a bucket. Now this won't get lost and separated. You could also, write on here where it goes if you've got multiple of the same item. There's only one flagpole holder, so I'm just going to set it in the bucket. Any other hardware is going to go right in that bucket. I'm going to start removing some of the lights. There's not much hardware on this house to remove, which is nice. Just a few things. There's only a couple downspouts. Lights are, some people will try to mask around them, but if the customer changes the lights a year later, then it's not painted behind the light. I always like to remove the light. I always take and stick my wire nuts back on. That way they protect the wires too, so they don't get painted. Definitely want to make sure your electricity, the power's off to the lights. Here's another thing I do, the nuts. You want to take and tape those to your light so they don't get separated either. All right, so one of the last things, when it comes to getting the house ready, not painting things you don't want to paint, is the downspouts. I do want to paint them, but I also want to paint behind them. There's chains on a lot of the house, so we just wrap some paper around the top of the chain so we don't get any paint on it. But we got a downspout here. So another thing I always carry in my tool bag is a 1/4-inch bit to take off downspouts. So a 1/4-inch nut driver. So I always remove them and then I'll screw them right back in where they came out. That way they get painted also. And then another important thing is to label this downspout. Where it came from. Once I get it off, you definitely want to make sure you dust the back sides of them. They're typically got spider webs all over them and everything, so I have my gloves handy. And I always set them up and show you how we spray them. Eventually, when we get to spraying them, it's interesting how this was painted. The top portion was painted the same color as the fascia. I always paint the downspouts all one color all the way up. That's my style, how I like to do it. So it's ready to go. And I'll show you, I always take and label. I'm just gonna wipe it off, make sure there's nothing. So you can see here we have the backside of a downspout that was never painted by the painters. These downspouts were installed and they kind of brushed them, made a mess of them. But I'm gonna take a piece of tape, and this is front side, front garage. So I'll just put a piece of tape inside that says what this is. Front garage downspout. You can use letters, numbers, whatever you want to use. Stick it inside the downspout. Otherwise, you don't want to get paint on it that covers it up where you can't read it. And it's good to go. I think I only got one other downspout to do. And then we're ready to start painting these doors right here. Another handy little tip, I keep a handful of these downspout screws, a little box of them, inside my vehicle, painting vehicle, because invariably you're going to drop one down the rocks or down the grass, and it's not worth spending your time looking for them. You'll spend more time looking for the screw than you would if you just grabbed a new one. So there's just a couple bucks for a set of them. All right, we're gonna begin the process. I'm gonna get my helper today, Afton's helping me today. I'm gonna set her up with a bucket with a 4-inch roller and a 3-inch. We're gonna be using a Riverdale Chinex brush. When I'm doing exteriors, I'm always using Chinex. They clean up fast and easy. And with today's exterior paints and just a 2-gallon cut-in bucket, I'm gonna have Afton start going around and rolling the bottoms of the house to give it added protection there. She's gonna be hitting all the corner boards, flat boards, anything that she sees white that she can reach without getting on a ladder. I always have a tool bag with me. I'll just go over a few of the things in the tool bag that's just gonna help you out be a faster, more efficient painter. Always have a 2-edge knife, 5-in-1 tool. This actually has a blade on it, so if you need a blade at the same time, I typically got a pair of nippers for pulling off like staples, nails and stuff like that, and fascia and stuff like that from Christmas lights. Always have a Linbide scraper if I need to do any scraping. A lot of times if I've got to tighten your extensions or hand tight extensions, but sometimes you got to tighten them with a wrench. I always got a small wrench for lights and stuff like that that'll take that to get off. If I got to remove doors, hinge pin remover. You gotta have a hinge pin remover. There's a nail set in case I gotta set any nails. I always have a Sharpie marker because when I remove all the downspouts on the house, you need to label your downspouts or it's gonna absolutely be a nightmare installing your downspouts because you won't know where they go. Let's see, always have a Phillips head small screwdriver. Sometimes you're going to need, a Phillips head screwdriver, a pencil if I ever need any, if I'm doing any cutting or stuff like that. I always have a sanding block, sanding sponge inside my tool pouch. And I think I've just about touched on everything in there. Here's another small screwdriver, flat head, and for taking off switch plates, if you've got to take off any switch plates. So that's just about it right there. Got my tool bag ready. Gonna set up the cut-in bucket now. So I'll walk you over and we'll go take a look at what it looks like to start to, what I call just pre-prime the house. And this is paint, it's not primer, but it's just adding an additional coat of paint in areas that are typically problem areas that get a lot of moisture and sun damage, etc. So here we go, let's take a look at that. So we're back on the back side of the house. The rest of the house is actually in really good shape. This side gets really beat by the sun. So there's a lot of sun and water damage. And so, we're just, priming. And we call it priming. This is actually just the paint and stuff, but it's the final step of our prep process before we spray. And you always want to do this step, now versus after you spray these troublesome areas. You'll see a color difference if you spray it and then go back and back brush it and stuff. So we want to spray it and leave it. So we definitely want it to be all of our back brushing done before we actually do any spraying. Like you can go back and hit all these bottom portions after you spray to give them a second coat, but you're going to see a color difference because of the sprayer atomizing the paint and changing the color. So it doesn't take long. It should only take somebody, an experienced painter, to hit the whole house. It shouldn't take them more than an hour to do this process on the whole house on an average size house. So I'm cruising along. This is the worst side. The rest of it, it's only been about an hour and this is almost done. We've got our sides of these windows right here they're typically on a heat side like this. They're pretty dry, and you can see it like starting to open up. Bottoms here, usually are really dry. You need to seal them up with paint. So I'm sealing these ends up. And this is all typically as high as I can reach. If I got a lot of upper stuff, you're going to want to do the upper stuff with a ladder too before you start spraying. That's where it's nice to have a second person that can be doing all the high stuff while you start to get ready to spray. But right before I spray, I'll go up there and do all that high stuff down to my last corner. Again, I like to get down here, go slow, hit the bottom, get paint underneath it, up the sides. All right, now we've got our lights, numbers, downspout done. We've got all the priming done prior to spraying on all the low stuff. I'm gonna tackle spraying these garage doors now. I've got my Titan 410 set up right here. I don't need a big pump. Don't need a long hose, so I don't need a lot of paint to even load it up with. I'm gonna mask it off, so I'm gonna mask off the weather strips, mask off the concrete, and then I'm gonna spray the doors. I don't have to worry about getting overspray on the trim because I'm gonna be hand brushing and rolling the trim afterwards, but we're gonna spray those doors, and then we're gonna set up to spray these gables next, the accent color, and that's gonna be a flat color. On this house, we're gonna be using Glidden Premium right here. So on the gables, it's a lifetime warranty coating, Glidden by PPG. So we're gonna be using that, and I'm testing it out on this house. I've never used it before, so I'll let you know what I think of it at the end of this project. And so let's go tackle these garage doors. So this is a really fast process, masking them and spraying them. All right, now I'm ready. Got my sprayer all set up. I got a Titan 410, and I'm using a 410 on the garage doors. I don't like anything, elaborate. I want something very simple and basic, and a 410 is a great sprayer, for spraying garage doors. I'm gonna be using a Titan high production 515 tip. I spray the body of the house and the garage doors with a 515 tip. Now I'm gonna mask 2 rows of paper, and you only need 2 rows of paper if you're spraying properly and using proper tip size, proper pressure. You're not going to get any overspray out on the concrete. If you're not comfortable with 2 rows of paper, I've been doing it for 20 years, never got any overspray on any concrete. You can put 3 rows of paper or even 2 rows and a drop cloth. But now I'm just going to run my paper down there, and there's no overspray is going to go through these garage doors. When it's all the way down, it's sealed on the bottom. I don't need to worry. We've got an expensive car in here that the customer questioned about paint going through the doors, so I am just going to drop some plastic over it as a precautionary measure. But just going to show you what it looks like masking these doors. I'm going to tack my paper down now. We don't want anything paper lifting up, getting on our garage door. And believe it or not, if you're experienced with an airless sprayer, experienced with controlling overspray, this is all the masking you need. If you're uncomfortable with that, then go ahead and rub or run another row out on the end, and that's all you're going to be using or need. 515 tip, you're only going to have overspray come out, about 6 inches, so that's ready to go. We do have a garage door opener. We do not want to get overspray on. I typically remove that, but I haven't removed it yet because I'm not trimming out. So just for speed, I'll just tack it up right now, and then I'll remove it here a little bit later. Then I'm going to tack this up on the opposite side. Then I'm going to drop some plastic over these cars. All right, now this door is ready to be sprayed. So I'm going to spray this door, then we'll mask off the other door, and then we don't want this door to dry 100% and then try to raise it, because the paint could bridge from the weather strip to the door, and you could do some serious damage to your garage door opener if you don't break that seal. But we usually raise it while they're wet, so we'll show you what that looks like right now. All right, now I've got this door sprayed. Gonna get over here, start masking, gonna spray this door. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, hit the subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell. If you don't hit the notification bell, you'll never get notified every time I come out with a new video. It's simple, free, easy to do. It doesn't cost you anything. Just click, subscribe, notification bell. Now let's go over here, mask this door, and get this door sprayed. All right, now we're onto the side of the house. I'm gonna spray this door. I've got a light here. I'll remove this light too at the same time. I don't want to get any overspray on the light. When I was doing lights, numbers, and downspouts, I didn't even see this light. So I'll remove this guy and then mask this door off, spray the door. And this is like, if I'm working as a crew, like a 3-man crew or so, the body, this is the same color as the body. We're gonna do it all at the same time, but when I'm working by myself, I'm gonna tackle like small things at a time. Like I'm gonna just tackle all the doors, and then when I come back and spray the body, I'm just gonna spray this, open this door, and just shield and spray around it so I don't get any overspray on the newly sprayed door. But I won't have to come and do as much masking when I spray the body, because this will already be masked off and sprayed. So I'm gonna remove this light. Now this should be an easier one than the other lights. We'll see. good idea to check to make sure your power's not on. You get zappoed. It's happened to me a lot of times. Gonna take and just, once again, this is a light unlike all the rest of the lights. We know exactly where it goes. I'm just gonna tape my nut on there so it doesn't get lost. Set that aside right there. Now I'm gonna begin masking this door. I'm gonna be using frog tape production tape to mask the doorknob off. And then we're gonna be masking the inside. We don't want any, because we removed the weather strips, we don't want any overspray on this or these two edges of the door. We're only spraying the face of the door. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm gonna run just 1.5 inches. This is 1.5 inch tape. Don't want anything overspray getting inside here onto the hinges. And one row of 1.5 inches is all you need. Gonna put a row on the inside edge of this door, which this is the inside color of the door. I'm going to mask this doorknob off. Once again, I got videos that'll go more into depth on masking and spraying doors if you want more up close detailed information. But we always remove the knobs on front doors, but on side doors like this, we leave them on, mask them. I'm gonna wrap some paper around the knob. We don't want any overspray to get down here on the threshold, so we're gonna mask that. I don't want anything to bleed on there, so I'm gonna put frog tape, right up against that threshold. Now my door is ready to spray. And I'm just gonna push it open slightly right here so I can see the edges, those edges. I'm gonna shoot it at an angle. Got it on there. The door's got a lot of checking in it, and I'm probably gonna have to do some back rolling and back brushing. They have no weather strip on the bottom of it, so it's getting water up underneath the door, which is not a good thing. So I'm gonna do some back brushing, back rolling, and then spray it again. Got the tip is running at the gun, 1200 PSI at the gun with that HEA tip. It's not ideal to shoot that with doors, but using this PPG paint, I'm not finding very many options to spray, tip wise that we would typically be spraying. We'd use a high production tip, which wouldn't give it so much build, and the droplets of paint wouldn't be so big. It's not ideal for a typical door, but this being wood and a lot of checking, you're not going to notice that. So I'm gonna let it dry, and back roll and back brush and paint and spray it again. Right, I'm waiting for that side door to dry, so I'm just gonna shoot these downspouts. Right now I typically would shoot a downspout. I'd have a 310 tip in here, but this paint's been struggling, spraying through smaller tips. So I've still got this 517 HEA that it's working with, which is going to cause more overspray, but I got a drop cloth down, so I'm not too worried about that. So just I'm going to spray the 3 sides, let it dry, flip it over, and then spray the other side. Now that'll dry pretty fast out here in the sun, and then we'll shoot, flip it over and shoot the other side. Okay, I've got my sprayer loaded up. We're going to start doing the gables up here. I'm going to flip over this downspout, spray the opposite side of this one, let this one dry, and then we'll spray the other one. I just want to go over a couple of the tools I'm using just to make the job a lot easier and more efficient. Cardboard shield holder. If you're ever going to spray, do any type of spraying, this is a must-have. The Craft cardboard shield holder. It can be screwed onto any extension pole. It comes with one extension pole, or you can get an extension pole from us that just screws in. It's a plastic one, or you can just screw it onto any extension pole you want. It adjusts without any tools at all. This thing is a must-have, when it comes to controlling overspray. You can see I've been painting these gables up here. I've had to lean, no choice but to lean a ladder up against the gutters. You never want to lean a ladder up against a gutter without a gutter guard. So that's what this is right here. So this makes it so you won't scratch the gutters. I don't have to worry about scratching them right now because I'm going to paint them. But I don't want to bend them, and this will keep you from bending your gutters also. So a pivot gutter helper is a must-have tool. Those are a few of the tools you definitely want to have with you. You do not want to do any painting on the exterior of a house or the interior of a house without a hand masker. This is a 3M M3000 hand masker, must have. It's got an accessory. This is a tool for tearing plastic, so it makes it so the plastic tears straighter. I don't even believe they sell this tool anymore. I have a bunch of them, and there's one attached to that right there, but it comes with a regular blade, the plastic blade itself right here without this attachment right there. 3M M3000 masker. That's going to make your prepping so much faster and more efficient. So I want to talk about just another tool or accessory is the ladder leveler, and I've got a ladder leveler on this ladder, my extension ladder. Bought it just brand new and installed the feet. I got a video on how to install the feet. Absolute must-have on one of your extension ladders. It's self-leveling feet, and then ladder boots on the top. So I'm going to lift this up and show you. So you can see the feet are self-leveling. If I had an obstacle, right here it's going to self-level itself. Self-leveling feet right here, must have. Ladder leans up right there on the house. Got to have ladder boots on your ladder too. So there's a couple other accessories. You definitely want to have, if you're spraying, don't do any spraying without a gun extension. Gun extensions makes it so you can reach farther, reach higher, and reach lower. So you don't have to bend down. You don't have to climb ladders as much. You can don't have to get down and move ladders as much. So at the end of the day, you're not going to be nearly as fatigued at the end of the day by using gun extensions. The most common gun extension I use is a 30-inch gun extension, but I use them all the way down to 6 inches for spray and trim. So I got them from 6 to 30, and I've even been known to, like this gable right here, attach 3 gun extensions just to do that gable without getting on a ladder. All right, so we got everything that we wanted to get accomplished today, and actually a little bit more. So we've got all the gables sprayed, and we got them sprayed with a flat paint. Even though we had some struggles with getting the product to spray, we worked through those struggles, but we got the gable sprayed. 2 garage doors sprayed. We got the side man doors sprayed. We've got all the back rolling of the product done, you know, around the majority of the house, all the low stuff. So we're done for the day. And I'm going to clean everything up now, and then we're going to come back today. Goal for tomorrow is to get the body sprayed. So we'll mask all the windows off, and then we'll spray the body, and then everything's going to be handwork to do after that. So today's just clean up, go home, relaxed. I think I've gone over all the tools. I do have, like, I'll grab a bucket here and come back. This is a handy little tool. Instead of having to you know, clean all my tools up, I'm just going to put these brush baggies over the top of the rollers and leave them in the buckets right here, and they'll stay overnight without drying out. But the sprayers, don't want to let them set overnight with paint in them. So I'm going to be cleaning those out, and then we'll be back tomorrow. All right, now we're going to move on to showing you some masking tips and tricks. 2 tools, or 1 tool you want to have when it comes to masking is hand maskers. These are M3000 hand maskers, an absolute must when you're painting a house. It's going to make the masking process and prepping process significantly faster. I always have a paper masker, always have a plastic masker, because just taking the time to change is going to take too much time. I always have the ladder hooks on them so I can have them on my pocket pockets. You don't want to be reaching down and grabbing maskers and looking for maskers. If you have them on you while you're working your way around the house, it's going to be a lot faster and more efficient. So just get back to the layering to the front door. The front door, if that's something, if I'm working with a full team of painters and we're going to be painting this house in a day, because this house would typically be painted in a day if I was working with a 4-man crew. If the front door, if we waited towards the end of the day to do the front door, then the front door wouldn't be dry and we wouldn't be able to install it and leave for the day and the house wouldn't be done. So just tackling things in layers, like looking at the gables. I gotta spray the gables because we got overlapping colors. I wanna be able to mask on that color, so I want the paint nice and dry. So I painted them yesterday. I can mask on them today. It's gonna be very nice and dry for me to be able to mask onto. If I tried to do the gables the same day, it might be a little bit more difficult, but we do it all the time. But I just wanted to get those gables tackled yesterday so I can mask on them today. So now we're gonna get working on all the lower windows. So come on along and watch how we mask. All right, here's the first mask window I'm gonna mask. I'm just gonna work my way around the house and I'm gonna mask anything that I need to mask with plastic and anything I need to mask, with paper. So this window right here, what I'm gonna be doing is I don't want any overspray on the glass and I don't want any overspray on the vinyl. I don't care about overspray on this trim because it's just gonna be added paint. I'm gonna go back and hand do that, after I'm done spraying. But I wanna be able to mask on this window and not get any overspray. So I'm gonna show you how we go about masking. I like to have frog tape on my plastic masker. And I'm gonna mask right to the edge. And I'm gonna put a nice masking line right along this vinyl window. So I'm gonna make it perfect because this right here, there's caulking right here, and then this is the trim. This is all gonna be painted the same color because this caulking's gotta get painted. So it's gonna rip masking right there. I'm just gonna drop this down. And so I don't have to get back up on my ladder again. I'm gonna take and just mask it halfway down the edges. And this is blue production frog tape right here. I can run it up a little bit high on this side right here, and then I can just trim that with my, got a 2-edge knife right here. I'm gonna carry this all the way down right there, do the opposite side. Just like that. Now this window is masked off and ready to go. I'm gonna show you another step of how you can mask this window right here for spraying that's a little bit different. This right here is how we would typically mask this because we would typically spray this body and then paint this trim all in one day. Since I'm working alone on this, I'm gonna spray the body and then I'm gonna come back the next day to paint the trim. I don't wanna leave this masking up overnight because it just doesn't look professional for the customer. I'm gonna rip all this off. So it's not important that I mask right here and be precise right here. I can mask out here and make it a little bit faster. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So one thing, we got a bunch of soffit lights on this house. Typically, the soffit lights will come down in multiple different ways. These are spring loaded right here. They'll come down. You want to see, you can see the painters painted them kind of inside last time. You want them to match the soffits, so you definitely want to keep them up inside there. I put some masking on the socket because I didn't want to get any paint inside the socket, so I'll just set it back up inside there. And then I'm going to put this can light back up inside. Now it'll get sprayed when I actually do the spraying. Right here, make sure there's no spider webs inside. and it's ready to go. So make sure you get all your can lights ready. If you don't want your can lights, if they've never been painted, if they're white and you don't want them painted, just pop them down, remove them, put some masking over the bulbs or the socket so you don't get paint inside the socket. Otherwise, the bulb won't work. Take your bulbs out and then just set them aside in a bucket. That way they won't get broken. I'm going to be dropping plastic over this door. We don't want to get any paint on this door, front door or screen door. So I'm going to drop some plastic over this. Now I've run it just a little bit long on both sides because it has to have some extra to build up over the top of this. Now it didn't quite reach to the bottom because we're using 72-inch film. So I'm just gonna fill it in with paper. Now I'll drop a drop cloth over the concrete right here so we won't get any overspray on the concrete. All right, I'm gonna be masking some brick right here. I'm gonna show you the technique I use masking the brick. We don't wanna get any overspray on this brick or any paint on the brick. I've got a paper masker I'm gonna be using. Whenever I'm masking on stucco, brick, fences, stone, I always like to use 1.5-inch tape. This is frog grade frog tape, pro grade production tape, and this is less expensive than say like frog tape blue production tape, which has paint block technology on it. More expensive. I don't need that type of tape on the rock here. And I'm going to show you masking some windows here in just a minute, the differences and when I would use, production tape versus frog tape, paint block technology tape, which is really designed for getting clean lines. Same with frog tape green. I'm going to use that in specific places when I'm spraying versus the 1-inch frog tape pro grade orange, which is significantly less expensive. But I'm going to mask this brick, be using my paper masker here and just kind of walking it with my fingers, keeping it tucked up underneath the siding or trim. And you can try to shield it or you can mask it. To me, it's just faster to mask. This isn't gonna get sprayed over here. That's gonna be hand done, but I can just run a piece right here just to protect this edge, just in case. I wanna tack this down because I don't want it blowing around in the wind or being blown around when I'm spraying. And tack it to the rock here. Just like that. That's some pretty good protection there. If there's any spots exposed, just go back, hit them with a piece of tape like that. There you go. I'm gonna work around the side right here. And there's a couple techniques, methods. You know, you can actually keep your tape on your wrist. I know a lot of painters like to have it on the wrist. You can take your tape off that way. I typically just keep it in my mouth. For some reason, I just hold it just like that. Now, once this is sprayed, it's all done. I can spray all this and I won't have to go back and do any touch-ups. I'm gonna show you one other method that I could use that's a little bit faster to mask around brick, and I'll show you that right over on this side. So instead of masking like a tight line under here, there's another option. You could stick a cardboard shield under here, which I'll show you that. Or I can just hand do this stuff. I can spray this and then hand do this by just putting paper just like this. You can see that's a lot faster to mask like that. Now I can spray this, pull this off, and then I'll just hand roll that spot. This is all getting hand brushed and rolled anyway, so I don't need to worry about that. He warned me about that. I want to tack this stuff down because I don't want it flapping up when I'm spraying or flapping up from the wind. So you just tack it down in a few places, and that's what that looks like right there to mask the brick that way. So here's another option, because I know there's a gap in between here. You can take a cardboard shield, slide it right in there, and now you can spray that right here on the opposite side where it overlaps. You can do the same thing, just like that. Throw a piece of tape right here. That's another fast method to masking right there. Nothing's gonna be sprayed here. That's already been done. This is sprayed. I don't need to worry about anything right there. I do got the opposite side to mask right there. Okay, I got a window here I'm gonna mask. I'm gonna show you a couple different methods when it comes to masking this window. If I was going to be painting this window, the window trim after spraying it all in one day, if I had a full crew here, 3 guys or more, we would be masking just on to the vinyl right here, and then we would get overspray onto this trim. We would go back and hand roll it. We would be using frog tape, and I'd be using something like frog tape, production tape, frog tape, production tape, blue grade tape, which is has paint block technology on it. We would be masking right perfectly onto the edge of the vinyl right here, and we would mask all the way around that window. I would show you. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but we would spray the body, get the overspray onto the trim right here. We would go back, brush and roll this, get our paint down inside here, because you wanna paint here. Any of these cracks, we would caulk them first, and then we would pull our masking off while it was still wet. And that takes a little bit longer to mask, and you do need to use frog tape with paint block technology in it. If I'm not painting the trim the same day, I'm actually gonna be coming back the next day to paint the trim, so I don't have to do that precise masking. I can use just production tape, and I'll be using production tape like this on my plastics. I'll just throw production tape. This is significantly cheaper than frog tape green or blue, which has paint block technology. So I can put orange on here, and I'll show you what this looks like. And the orange tape versus the 1.5 inches versus the inch, the 1 inch is significantly cheaper than the 1.5 inches. And so we typically try to use 1 inch tape as professional painters to save money. If you got not as much experience masking, you can use 1.5 inches, and then you're kind of have a little bit more leeway and give with 1.5 inches, but it is significantly more expensive. So now with this method, I don't have to mask onto the vinyl. I'm gonna be pulling my masking as soon as I'm done spraying today, so I can mask really fast. My window, pull this down. So I only have to get on the ladder once. I'll pull this down about halfway. You can hold it down. If there's any type of breeze or wind, you can tack it down the side. You can see there's a little bit of breeze or wind. It's not a problem. All you gotta do is tack your plastic down. Now I'll pull it down the rest of the way. And I don't cut my plastic. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I leave it just like this. I'll do another window cutting the plastic at the bottom and show you what that looks like. So now that's ready to spray. As soon as I'm done spraying at the end of the day, I'm gonna pull my plastic off, and then my trim will be ready to trim out. But I do run a piece of masking on my vinyl so I don't get any paint on the vinyl. But there's the method, and I'm gonna show you another method right here. We're working our way down the line. I do have some stuff here that I gotta mask with paper. So I'll show you. I'm gonna mask a line right here. Don't want any overspray on this. Tack some paper onto that. When it comes to masking and stuff like this, I want to mask on here, and I want to do my masking so it's easy to take my masking off. So I don't want to wad this all up and put masking all over. I usually just take and leave it just like this, and I usually leave a tab up here, so when I'm done spraying, I can grab this and peel it all off. I don't like to have a whole lot of masking on there, what I call Christmas masking, like a Christmas present. You want to just least amount of masking to protect and make your masking so it comes off fast. Here's something it's very common, these little tabs right here. You're actually not supposed to get paint on those things, so you can. I've painted them for 20 years, but I'll show you, just throw a piece of tape on that. It's got some type of serial number on there, so you could throw some masking on that. just like that. Now it won't get paint on it. Down here, I've got pipes I can't shield with my cardboard shield, so I want to get paper behind here. I tuck it up underneath, stick it to the back side of the siding underneath the house. Just like that. And I want to put nice, clean lines, new lines down here. I'm just going to put my tape on, make a straight line, and I'm going to tack it to my paper. Just like that. Now I'll get a new clean line underneath here. Just run a little bit more along here. We don't want to get any overspray on those footings right there. We want a nice clean line in this pipe. So we're gonna put it, we got overspray down there a little bit, so we're gonna lower it down right around there. We want a nice clean line on the cord. Just like that. The rest of this I can shield with my cardboard shield, so I don't have to worry about anything else. So here's another window. I want to show you the other method when it comes to masking if I'm going to be painting the trim the same time that I'm spraying the body, which would be typical if I had a crew. I'm gonna be using frog tape, and I'm gonna mask right onto the edge of the vinyl. They get this. I always use 1-inch tape with my plastic. 1-inch tape is cheaper, so I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna tear it right about 1/4 of an inch from the end. Then I'm gonna be using frog tape blue production grade to mask the rest of the window. And the frog tape blue has the same paint block technology as the green does. It's just cheaper because it comes in 4 packs, and the tape paper is not a premium grade paper, so it's a little bit cheaper. If you got a little bit of wind, just tack it down and then fill it in. If I got a crooked line, I can go back, just hit it again, straighten that up. Can pull it down the rest of the way. And I'll show you this. Some guys will pull it all the way down and then mask the rest of the way. This. And I'll see guys do this method of cutting it, and you could cut your plastic and this is just takes a little bit more time to cut the plastic, and then they'll just toss the plastic aside. Then that just leaves plastic to pick up at the end of the day. Any type of wind's gonna pick that up, blow it into the neighbor's yard, which you'll go have to chase down the plastic on the neighbor's yard. But you can see now you can mask it like that. Want to make sure our corners are perfect. And there we go, that window's masked. I'll show you one more method that you can do. Mask this window. We'll use switch tapes here. I'm gonna throw on our inexpensive pro-grade orange production tape, because it saves us money. So if cost is important to you, you can save a little bit of money by just using this production tape. You can pull it. Here's one more method. Stretch it all the way down. We got a little bit of a breeze, so I can just tack this down there. Tack it down because of the breeze. Now when I get here, it's all pulled out. I can just turn around, tuck it underneath. This way I'm not gonna have any cut plastic flying around. Now I can tack this down. Then when you're all done masking, always just check, make sure you don't have any leaks, anything where it can leak through. You're good to go. Got a few more windows to mask, and we'll be getting spraying. Okay, just want to talk a little bit about the paper and plastic that I use. I use 9-inch paper and I use 72-inch plastic film. Now there's all kinds of different sizes from I think like 4-inch paper all the way up to like 16-inch paper, and there's plastic from shorter to longer. And in my painting vehicles, I don't like to have to dig around for a bunch of different sizes and try to fit, well, this size, that size, and it just gives you more products to stock and more products to search through to try to find the right product that you're trying to use, you know, when you're masking. I just narrowed it down to 72-inch masking film, 9-inch paper, and then if it needs to be longer, we extend it with paper. You know, if it needs to be shorter, we just tuck it under. So, you know, the longer plastic does cost a little bit more money, but the time and effort in the loss and efficiency of just searching through and restocking multiple products, you know, I found wasn't beneficial. So 9-inch paper, 72-inch masking film are the products I use the mask with. Always mask off my water faucets too. This is my hose, so I don't need to worry about getting paint on the hose. I'm just gonna tuck the paper around that and mask that off. I do have some corners over here that aren't going to be able to be shielded 100% because of the angle. They're not 90-degree angles, so I'm just going to put some paper in these corners like this and tack that down so the wind doesn't blow it away. Same with this. If I shield this, I could get overspray to here. I'm gonna come back to these two doors. We're gonna do this a little bit later. You definitely wanna mask this off. You don't wanna get any overspray inside this hidden screen, or that could be a big problem. You'll be buying a new hidden screen. Just move right along here. Got a door here we're gonna be masking off, and this is something we run into quite often, is this glue stuff starting to ooze out of these doors, and you definitely want to remove this before you do any masking. It's like some nasty stuff, and it's not ideal to paint it. We try to remove it. It's we realize the door adhesive and glue is failing, coming out these doors. So it's all coming out all over here. The previous painters just painted it. This plastic was not supposed to be painted either, and they painted the plastic right here. And so it's peeling off really easy. But this is like nasty, gluey stuff. Just gonna try to clean most of it off. So I'm gonna come back and tackle these doors after I've sprayed the body. So I'm going to just, you can see I can also mask with just inch tape. Right here, it saves you money if you're good enough masking with, or comfortable masking with 1-inch tape. Down here where it doesn't reach, I'm just gonna fill it in with paper. I could hand do this piece on the bottom, or I could spray it just by putting some masking right here and then shielding the bottom. This will save me from having to get down with a roller and hand doing it. Just tack this up. Go. So I got these corners right here. I can shield it. I always like to just do a little added protection, and I'll just take paper, just tuck it up underneath every corner, like just like this. I don't get any overspray on the footings. So now when I shield it here, overspray is not going to wrap around on the opposite side and get on the footings. Sometimes I'll just take some rocks and set it on here to keep it from blowing around, just like that. All right, we're almost around the house. It's been about an hour and a half masking. I think I got one more door. I'm gonna drop some plastic over this door. We're gonna shoot the door. Not when we're shooting the body, so I'm just gonna drop plastic. Very critical to get it over this door. This hidden screen door. So I'm gonna go extend it beyond, and then I'll just take it and tuck it back. That way I have some excess plastic to be able to go over the top of this hidden screen door. make sure it's good and tight around that door. Pull it all the way down. Right, if you've never used a hand masker before, these are the M3000 hand maskers. We do sell them in our store, must-have tool. There's no other hand masker that is as good as the M3000. The ladder hook, you definitely want to have the ladder hook installed on it. I just wrap tape around it to keep it fastened in place, permanently. And I just wrap multiple rows of tape around it. And I like to have it so it sits just on my pant pockets, just like that. The tape, just gonna put the tape in. The tape, you want it to come over the top of your roll. So my tape is gonna sit like this, over the top. Just like that, it's gonna come over the top, and then there's a little kind of little pin that sticks out right here. The tape's gotta go underneath that pin, and then it's gonna go over the top of your paper. Paper's the same thing. You want your paper to roll over the top. I'm gonna push that all the way on. Make sure it's completely all the way on your masker. I'm gonna set that on top of my paper. Now I can pull it out and it's good to go. If it's not underneath this pin right here, you're gonna have problems with the tape installing on the paper. If the roll of plastic or paper is not all the way on, it's not gonna seat your paper or your tape on the paper properly, or the plastic. Your blade is adjustable. It's got different widths right here for different size tapes. I always set it into the third hole in right here, and I never change my blade. Whether my tape or not changes, it always sets the same. Same concept with the plastic. Plastic sits over the top. It's gonna roll over the top. You just have to be careful with plastic. Installing it, I'm gonna push it on. Gonna make sure my tape sitting on. If the tape is not on correctly, it'll actually roll and it won't install it on your plastic properly either. Make sure your tape is pressed on all the way. Make sure it comes over the top, goes underneath the pen, and then just take it, set it on your plastic right here. Now I can just pull my plastic through. It's on and installed properly, just like that. Blade, once again, this one, the blade is set 2 notches in. I typically don't have it 2 notches in. So if you want to adjust it, you got to be really careful, because these things are razor sharp. So you can just move it over. I'm not sure who put it on hole number 2, but latch it back in. But just be careful, that is razor sharp. Now you can use it for 1-inch and 2-inch tape. That's how I always keep it set. Ladder hooks engaged properly. There you go, the M3000 hand masker. How to set it up the way I use it. All right, so I'm getting ready to start the spray, and I got, I think, the majority of the masking. I gotta tie a plant back. I'm gonna show you how to do that, but I'm getting ready to set up the sprayer. On the body here, I'm gonna be spraying with a Tritech T5 today. So Tritech T5, I don't got any large expanses where I'm gonna be just running the sprayer continually. So a small sprayer like this is, it can work. I use this small sprayer, for the first 3 years exclusively, spraying. It was a Titan 440i, and this is very similar. You do want to strain your paint, so I'm going to be straining my paint to begin with. Yesterday, I was spraying. I did the garage doors and the gables, and I did not strain the paints, which we're very accustomed to not doing. A lot of spitting, a lot of issues with it. So I'm going to strain the paint today and see what we get in the paint, see how dirty it is. I'm going to be using, like it was yesterday, Glidden's Glidden Premium Exterior Paint and Primer. Right here, so I'm gonna strain it. I typically use a 5-gallon bucket strainer like this. I like these type instead of the ones that sit on the top, because it just takes too long for the paint to run through the strainer. I can fill this up, grab my hand, squeeze all the paint out, and I'm ready to go. So gonna strain my paints, get it loaded up. I'm gonna be spraying with a dual head tip extension, and you're gonna see two tips running at once for speed, and then I'll show you another option that you can do with just one tip. So let's strain our paints. Always good practice to strain your paint prior to painting, and you typically won't run into a lot of issues that you could run into by not straining them. So just gonna put this over the top. Just gonna dump my paint down inside here. So it'll give me a good idea if the issues I was having yesterday with it spitting were because of the paint being, really dirty. Once I strain it, we'll look in the strainer, see what's in there. So I'm gonna, now I can lift the strainer out. And this is where it's a lot faster to strain this versus waiting for a thick paint like this to go through a top strainer that sits in a bucket. Now I can just grab it, just squeeze it. Unfortunately, you do have to get your hands dirty before you even start, which is kind of a bummer, but it's one of the reasons why we don't like straining our paints. Now I've got dirty hands that I've got to clean. That is pretty dang clean paint. I don't see any grit. I don't see any chunks of paint or anything at all. So I'm still not sure why I was having a spitting issue, but it's not because of it being dirty paint. So Glidden does have really clean paint. I always use a cut lid on top of my sprayer. That way my paint's not exposed to the sun because it'll dry out really quick. So I put a cut lid on top, and then my sprayer will go, my intake tube will go right down inside my sprayer there. And then I'm gonna put a wet rag over the top of that, so it still won't get heat and exposure, so you won't get your paint skimming over on the top. If your paint skims over on the top, and when it starts to get empty, you're gonna start to suck up bits and pieces of the paint that'll cause spitting and clogging of filter issues. I can now drop my intake tube right down into my paint bucket, and I'm ready to go. As my paint starts to get towards the bottom, I got a sprayer saver, and I'll show you how this works. You'll set your 5-gallon bucket on there, and it leans it forward, so all the paint will go down to one side of the bucket. Sprayer saver is great to have too, but we're ready to start loading this thing up. Now here's, if you're spraying something that you really, it's critical you don't get any spits on, you'd want to run paint through your prime tube first. You don't have to run paint through the prime tube. It'll clean out a lot quicker if you don't run paint through the prime tube. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to squeeze my trigger. It's in the spray mode. You start running it. So my pressure at the pump now is around 2,200 PSI. I always leave my prime tube in an empty bucket of water, so there's, no air can go up inside the prime tube. My bucket is sitting here exposed. I'm gonna set a wet rag right over the top of that. Now that paint won't skim over and dry out on the top. This is a dual head tip extension, so I can run 2 tips on this gun at the same time, so it gives me a significantly wider pattern, but I can run smaller tips also. So I'm running 2 5/15s, and I'll get a 12-inch pattern versus running a 12-inch, like a 12/21. It'll give me a lot more overspray. So this is gonna control overspray. Another advantage of this is if I want to just run one tip, all I got to do is turn one tip back sideways, and the tip is now off. I could run one tip or two tips. So I've got two tips, twice the distance, spread. This is called it's the high dual head tip extension. So you'll be able to spray, especially you'll see when I'm spraying these soffits under these overhangs, it's gonna make it a lot faster to spray because I don't like looking up and causing my neck to just hurt all day long. Got the GoPro action going on so we can see what we're doing while we're spraying. So it's ready to go. My pressure's set. Gonna get my respirator, get my gloves on. I always like wearing gloves because the gun, if it's sitting out in the sun, it could get hot. Gloves also give me better grip when it comes to holding on to the gun when you're spraying all day long. I do like 2-finger triggers, can't stand 4-finger triggers because you need 2 fingers to control your gun and then 2 fingers to pull the triggers. So if you got a 4-finger gun, get rid of it and get a 2-finger gun. All right, sprayer's ready to go. The other thing is running 2 515s. A little pump like this can handle a width, fan width at 12 inches with 2 515s, but a little pump like this would not be able to run a 1221. So another advantage to this, the dual head tip extension, being able to use it with smaller pumps. I'm gonna go back and we're gonna start with a soffit in the back. I think I got enough hose to reach back there. I think I got about 150 feet of hose. And let's get rocking and rolling. 2 high production tips. Titan high production 515 tips is what we're rocking today. So let's go. All right, we started the spraying now. I started at the back of the house, working my way around. Just want to go over some quick pointers when it comes to spraying. And you always want to, or not always, but try to spray where there's logical start and stop points. So I don't want to start spraying in the middle of a run right here and spray to this end and come here and keep going back, because you'll get a heavy spot right here, and over time as the house begins to fade, you'll start to see that fade over time. Logical start and stop points, the body, I would spray from end to end right here. Eventually when you get up high on a house, on a 2-story house, you're not going to be able to hit logical start and stop points like trim boards, window trim, corner boards, or batting boards, stuff like that. Here, the start and stop points on this the ceiling, from end to end or lengthwise. Just always try to, or not always, but try to find logical start and stop points, because you don't want those heavy spots in the middle of a field. You also you'll get what we call flashing if you start and stop in the middle of the field too. So it's probably about 70-80% of the time you can find a logical start and stop point to be spraying. So I'm going to be spraying around the house, trying to use that technique and use those pointers. So as we're cruising around the house, just watch as I'm spraying. Some of the other things, gun angle, you want to have your gun angle spray up. You want to be hitting the lap. You don't want to come down at an angle like this. The bottom of the lap's not going to get sprayed. Also inside the batting boards, corner boards, stuff like that, there's holes right here. You want the spray to go in. So I'm gonna be spraying, shooting at an angle, both ways, getting in there. So as you're coming down here, make sure you're spraying up to hit the bottom of the lat boards. Corner boards like this, I'm going to be spraying them back and forth, side to side, hitting the corner board, both ends. I'll be using a cardboard shield to help control overspray. If there is any overspray right now, there's a low wind. It's extremely warm outside. So while I'm shooting the back sides of the fascia, you're going to get a little bit of overspray shooting up in the air, but it flash dries, and by the time it hits the ground, it's just going to be dust. And out here in the grass and stuff like that, it's not going to land on as wet paint. But try to spray according to your comfort zone. Right here, I'm going to be spraying 515 tip. Has been working right now around 2200 psi. If you're not comfortable controlling overspray, you definitely would want to have a drop cloth down on any type of concrete areas where you're actually spraying. So it's really up to your comfort zone, how long you've been spraying, whether you need to cover stuff up significantly. There's patio furniture. I definitely wouldn't want to be spraying with this furniture right here. I'm going to be moving furniture out. If you can't move it, cover it with plastic. So you can cover anything with plastic that you're not comfortable spraying around. But down here, this concrete right here, spraying overhead, anything that was going to land down here would be just dust, and it would just blow right off at the end of the day when we're blowing off everything with the blower. So here we go. Going to be shooting, finishing this side, and then the face up here. Well, we'd be able to find logical start and stop points everywhere along the front of this house. The side of the house is extremely hard or extremely high, so you cannot find logical start and stop points on high sides like that. Not good to paint them when it's sunny on the sun side. The sun was hitting it in the morning. It's better to wait till the sun moves to the other side of the house and then hit that side of the house when it's not sunny, because the paint's going to dry a lot faster. And if you're up and down ladders, you're not going to be able to keep a wet edge. When I'm spraying, as I'm spraying up or down, I'm overlapping 50% as I'm spraying, and keeping a wet edge the entire time. Some of these details about spraying, I have multiple videos on how to spray with an airless sprayer. You can go back and check those videos out for reference. But I'm gonna get finish up spraying, move around this direction. All the tools, accessories, or a lot of them that you see, we'll have links down in the video description below, or you can go check out our store at store.theidahopainter.com. All right, so we're getting finishing up over here. We're getting low on paint. And I wanted to show you, here's another pretty handy little tool. It's called the sprayer saver. And this thing, your bucket, 5-gallon bucket, sits right on that thing. A gallon or 5-gallon will sit on it. It tilts it back. So now your intake tube won't suck air, and you're less likely to do a lot of damage to your sprayer or wear parts out because it's sucking air because you're way up high on a roof or something like that. So this is going to take it all the way down to the very bottom of the 5. It's called the sprayer saver. Great little tool. Once your 5 gets down a little bit, you can just set it on there, and it'll set on there. And it's also very, very sturdy. It's on there really good. It is not going to fall over at all. Instead of just trying to tilt your 5-gallon bucket, stick like a rock underneath it or a caulking gun, that thing works absolutely amazing. the sprayer saver, absolutely love it. We've got 2 dormers on both sides that you can't access by just walking on the roof. So got some challenges there that we're working on. But this job, to tackle it by myself, one of the things you always want to do is just think about layering your job or sequencing the job properly for a 1-man crew or a 2-man crew. And what I did, first day, I just got here, I wanted to tackle something simple, and I wanted to tackle something I didn't have to do a lot of prep and masking with, and that was the accent color. So those gables were very simple, easy to do very first, and you gotta spray your gables at accent color so you can mask and do the soffits, which are a different color. So I tackled the gables first, I tackled the garage doors, and then the side man door. Day 2, I wanted to do some masking and spraying of the body. So I masked all the windows off, and I sprayed all the body on all the lower body, and then the big gables on the sides. I got all that done. Now we're day 3. I'm working on the hard stuff, and I didn't want to tackle the hard stuff day 1. You know, I wanted to just get myself into it. So I've got the first dormer up there, some tools that you're going to need when painting a house. That's going to make the job faster and more efficient for you, and just a more pleasant process. If you've got any type of gutters on your house, you need to protect them. I'm using a ladder helper, a pivot ladder gutter guard right here. This thing, just stick it up in your gutters. You can lean your ladders on your gutters. They're not gonna bend, and you're not gonna scratch them. If you're doing any type of spraying, you need to have a cardboard shield holder. This is a Craft cardboard shield holder. This is a must-have tool to help you control overspray. So I want to show you a little trick here. I got my ladder here. I've got some ladder boots on it, and the ladder boots make it so you don't you'll mark up your house or scratch your house, freshly painted surface. But the ladder boots still will actually leave marks, and they'll stick to the paint if you've painted the same day. If it's had time to cure out, it won't stick to the paint. But what I do is take and put plastic over my boots, and the plastic won't stick or mar up your painted surface. And you don't want to put the print side up, because the print will actually transfer to a freshly painted surface. So I just flip it upside down, and I'm gonna just wrap this plastic around my boots, and now my boots will not mark up my surface. So it doesn't have to be anything pretty. I'm just gonna put it on here, fold it over on the top. Just like this. So now you got a nice clean plastic surface that can lean up against your house and not mark it. So I just want to say something about what I'm doing right here. So we've got our gable, the accent color right here, And then the soffits themselves, they were previously painted the same colors as shakes, but I really like it if the shakes are a different color, the accent color is separated from the soffit. The soffit, what I'm doing is I'm doing it the body color. A lot of times we'll mask this off and put 9-inch paper right here, mask it, and we'll just spray it. But I'm working by myself. I'm up here. If I had a mask and then go down, come back up, it's multiple trips. I can do this just as fast, rolling it. These edges instead of masking it, and then I'll spray. Sometimes I'll spray the rest of it, or I could just roll the entire thing. But you can see it's fairly fast rolling this. And it just, you do this, do these soffits a different color, same color as the body, it looks a lot nicer, just an added touch. It definitely takes a lot more work than what the previous painters did, but the final product looks a lot nicer. We're always after a good looking end product. That's the goal. You can see some light spots on the shakes up here. We've got to touch up too. Okay, I got another tip for you, and it's wearing gloves. I always talk about wearing gloves, and I wear gloves for a lot of reasons, but when you're working with extension ladders all day long, these climbing ropes that are attached to these extension ladders, ratcheting them up and down, you can get burns on your hands. That's never gonna be an issue, and you can grip the rope a lot easier. So the rope is gonna be sliding in my hand as it's going up and down, and it doesn't actually burn or hurt my hands at all having gloves on. So if you're painting an exterior, it's definitely a good idea to wear gloves. The guns, spray guns, sitting out in the sun, get hot. They're easy, so it's you're not gonna burn your hands when you're grabbing the gun, with gloves on. Also, it helps grip the gun, but there's just a lot of other reasons. At the end of the day, you're not gonna have as dirty of hands, wearing gloves too, and I don't like to have to sit there and just scrub all this paint and grime and stuff off my hands at the end of the day. All right, so I'm here doing the soffits above the accent color, the shake color. So I'm just hand doing them, rolling them, because it's probably about the same amount of time. If I'm working alone, so instead of masking it, I just want to get up the ladder one time, so I'm rolling them. Just using a 4-inch roller. I'm using a Premier Woven Pro 3/8-inch roller to roll the large parts. I'm also using a Premier Riverdale Chinex bristle brush. This is a 3-inch angled sash brush, and the Chinex for exterior paints, the best to use on the outside because they clean up quickly at the end of the day. Paint does not stick to a Chinex bristle brush, and you're gonna be outside and you're gonna be using your brush. It's hot, it's gonna get dried paint on it. It's really hard to keep them from getting dried paint on them. So those are the tools I'm doing the soffit with. I'm just using a 2-inch cut-in bucket. I like the or not 2-inch, but 2-gallon cut-in bucket with a 1-gallon bucket screen on it. I think I'm almost halfway done with these gables. And out up here, like I'm working on this ladder, I always keep one hand holding onto the ladder and my bucket at the same time. That way I know my bucket's secure, and I know I'm secure because I'm holding on to the ladder. Some people like using pail hooks, but I'm not one for pail hooks because I don't have the bucket in my hand and I don't have control of it. So I kind of like to just myself have the bucket, you know, in my grasp and the ladder in my grasp. So just makes me feel safe and secure for somebody that's kind of afraid of heights. Makes me feel more comfortable doing it like that. Okay, another tool I want to talk about that I'm using today is the pivot roof boot, and I've got 2 dormers up here. The pitch of the roof, you can't walk on it. It's so steep. These things, you can screw them into your roof underneath a shingle, and then you can slide an extension ladder down in it. You can use other devices like the pivot ladder box in conjunction with these things, but it makes accessing the roof safe. And so these things are a must-have if you got to get on a steep roof. So you'll probably see me using these things on the 2 dormers up there. A couple other things I just want to share when I'm out painting. Before I start painting, I use a product called Workman's Friend Barrier. And this stuff just makes it, at the end of the day, it makes it easier for me to clean up my hands. It actually puts a barrier on your hands that paint and stuff like that doesn't stick to. So I usually put it on several times a day, and I like soft hands too, so. There you go, and it dries non-greasy, dries in just a few minutes, and then you're off and running. Also, in the sun, another thing, always before I start the day, use sunblock. You're gonna be outside all day long, and there's nothing worse than getting absolutely fried the back of your neck. This is a product that I've been using, Skinny's sun gel, so works really good. A little bit goes a long way. So I just want to give you a little advice on ladders and setting your feet on ladders too. So we got an extension ladder. I've got self-leveling feet on this ladder, and absolutely essential when it comes to doing exterior repaints, because you want to have your ladder setting level on level ground, but you also want to have your feet set properly. Whenever you're in grass, you're supposed to have your spikes down in the grass. So the ladder's now sitting with the rubber down. That's how you want your ladder sitting on concrete. You would never want that setting like that on grass, because the likelihood of the ladder sliding is extremely great. The ladder is very safe with the spikes down in dirt. So you'll take the ladder itself, and I'm holding it up, and I flip it forward, and now my spikes are down in the dirt, and they're set, and it's never gonna go anywhere. To get the spikes back and the feet flat, all you gotta do is raise it back up, and now the feet are flat. You can see on uneven ground, this thing will self-level itself on uneven ground. It's the Werner self-leveling ladder feet, absolutely amazing. But I'm working back here in the grass, so I'm getting my spikes set. There we go. Now my ladder's good and safe. All right, we are all done with day 3. I got what I set out to do today, and I wanted to get all the soffits above all these high peaks done. I wanted to get the dormers done. Very difficult. Installed ladder jacks all over the roof where I can get on the roof with different means. Use a 6-foot ladder, one of the ladder jacks, extension ladders. So I got everything done and accomplished a little bit sooner than I thought. I know somebody might have some questions, where do you spray versus where do you brush and roll? I typically always brush and roll all the trim. And the body of the house, I spray the body. Spraying is a means to getting on paint a lot faster. It doesn't promote adhesion and penetration like brushing and rolling does. So you definitely want to brush and roll your fascia and your trim. It's going to withstand, the weather. It's going to bond better. But the body, you want to get the body on quickly. It's large expanses, but even something like this, a metal garage door like this, doesn't have to be back rolled because you don't have to promote adhesion on something like that because it's metal. So you don't have to back roll that. On the siding, there are places when I'm spraying, I'm going to be back rolling them before I spray and not after I sprayed. After I sprayed, I found a few places that needed to be hit, back rolled. Up on these high areas where I didn't have the ladder jacks, I didn't do any prepping until I got up there. Once I got the ladder jack set, I did my prep work, I did my caulking, my back rolling, and then my spraying. So it's all done now, and we're going to come back for day 4. Now all the hard part is done. All that really difficult ladder work is done. We're going to be doing just brushing and rolling trim, the fun and easy stuff. That's going to be day 4. So stay tuned for day 4. So in starting my day, I typically always like to put on a sunblock to protect any of my exposed skin. A lot of times I just put my sunblock on after I get out of the shower, get ready for the day. I always put it on my arms, I always get it on my neck and face, and it's just something, a practice you should get used to doing, because you're gonna be exposed to the sun, day in and day out as a painter. And skin cancer is something I'm always concerned about. So using a good quality sunblock is something you should really consider when you're painting outdoors. And typically I always, at the start of the day, also put on a product which is called Workman's Barrier, and it's a product I just put on my hands, and it keeps paint and other products that you're going to be using from sticking to your skin. It makes cleaning up your hands at the end of the day a lot easier. So this is something I want to show you, and this is a little bit unusual, and what I'm doing here is
masking off the flashing on the roof, and the previous painters got overspray all over the metal flashing. And if I was just to leave that, it would look like I did that. So I painted the gables and the shakes first, and then I'm going back now, masking off the roof, spraying the flashing with a flat black paint, and I'm getting a little bit of the overspray of the black, flat black onto the shakes, and then I'm just gonna roll back over that. And this flashing won't have overspray on it anymore, will look brand new, and it's just an added touch to this house that makes it a little bit more polished. So now I'm going, after I pulled this masking, there's a little bit of overspray onto these shakes. Now I'm just using my shake color and rolling right over the top of that, and it's gonna make it look absolutely perfect. So now I've got brand new flat black looking flashing that will match the roof line. Now we're just continuing on, and I always like painting my fascia and trim by hand, and it just gives better penetration and better adhesion. Some people will try spraying, trim and fascia, but we always spray the body of the house, but we always hand do our trim. And here I'm just using a 3-inch Riverdale brush, a Chinex brush, and a 4-inch roller to hand do all of our trim. Now this is a little tool that I'm putting on here. It's called the brush. See here on the left too, we've got a pivot roof boot that's holding an extension ladder on this roof, so we can get up there and do the fascia on that side. And it appears like that ladder is pushing up against the gutters, but it's not. Actually, it's about 2 inches away. And now I've installed another product by Pivot, and it's a gutter guard that makes it so I can climb up that ladder without scratching the gutters, because we've already sprayed those gutters and we don't want to scratch them and we don't want to bend them. And these are two absolutely must-have tools. The roof boots and the gutter guard made by Pivot. They also make the ladder tool, which helps level a ladder, and you'll see that in some of my videos also. Both of these products are available in our store at store.theidahopainter.com, because they're just tools I believe in that every painter should have, must have tools. And I know, there are going to be some people ask me, why don't you use a pail hook? And I have tried using pail hooks in the past, but I'm a lot more comfortable and secure having my cut-in bucket in my hand and holding on to the ladder at the same time. So it's just a practice that I've adopted. Instead of relying on a pail hook to hold my bucket, I like holding it in my hand at the same time. Once again, more overspray on the flashing, so we're taking care of the flashing here at the same time. You can see I'm rolling the overspray now from the flat black to cure that overspray problem on the flashing. This was one of those things you kind of wonder, is the customer going to notice? And when the customer came home, they noticed that, and we're extremely thankful that we took the added time to do that. It did take a little bit of time to do, but just gives you that polished look to your final product. You can see that you got the spray can in my tool bag, and so I always have a tool bag with me. Typically, when I'm painting, spraying especially, it just keeps a lot of different things with me. So you can see I can climb up this ladder. I got a masker with me. I've got the spray can with me. I can paint the fascia, so you can accomplish multiple tasks when you're up the ladder one time, and ultimately it's just going to cause less fatigue, at the end of the day from accomplishing multiple tasks at a time. I'm also doing touch-ups on the shakes, as you can see during this time too, this one trip up the ladder. Here's another example. You can see a roof boot attached to the roof where I had a ladder to access that part of the roof. The ladder's been taken down now. We do have a video showing exactly how these roof boots were installed. So if you want to see how to properly install a roof boot, that way you don't damage the roof or cause any leaks in the roof, just check that video out at the end of this video. One method you can use is to, if you're not up high, it's a little bit difficult to do here, but I like to sometimes run frog tape around the vinyl and then do my cut-ins. But up high here, it's really difficult to run frog tape and then do the trim all in one trip up the ladder. And we do spray the gutters, so we spray all of our gutters so they have a nice factory finish on them. But then the fascia underneath the gutters, we always go back and hand roll the fascia underneath, because once again, it's kind of has a rough wood grain look and feel to it, and spraying it alone will not give it, the quality finish and the durability that it will have if you actually hand brush and roll it. Ladder safety is always very important. Make sure whenever you're on your 6 foot or 4 foot ladders, to have your ladders always locked in place. Otherwise, you stand a really good chance of falling off that ladder if one side is locked and the other side is not locked. Just continuing along, the house is getting close to being done. As I'm moving around the house doing the trim, I'm just reinstalling the lights. We always like to remove the lights and paint behind them. That way, if the customer ever replaces the lights, it'll be painted behind there. And same with the downspouts. We always remove the downspouts so we can get the downspouts painted on all 4 sides, and we could paint the trim that the downspouts are actually attached to. And when I remove these downspouts, they actually weren't painted behind them from the previous painters. Same with our flag pole holders. We remove all this hardware. We don't want to get anything on those. Now our numbers, they were just flat black faded. We took and painted them a completely different metallic color to make it match and go with the brand new color of the house. This is something we do at no charge to our customers, just to make the numbers look more polished and have a more polished finish and look to the final product of the house. I typically use a 4-inch roller, and when I'm doing exteriors, I use a 4-inch 3/8 inch white woven roller, and that's a standard roller that I typically use for interior and exterior. Probably 95% of the time. It's rare that I use a different roller, and I typically like just the inexpensive 4-inch roller frames that are kind of disposable, but we do use them quite a few times. So I'm getting ready to paint this trim underneath the door here, and just as an added insurance, I don't want to get any paint on my concrete, so I'm masking with frog tape and just hand cutting in and hand brushing this trim underneath the door. That way I'll get a nice crisp clean line along the concrete and get that trim painted using 9-inch paper along with my 1-inch frog tape to protect that concrete. The floor mat that's sitting there, one thing that we always do is flip that floor mat over so it's upside down. That way if you accidentally did get paint on a mat like that, then it would be on the bottom of the mat. Now, we have in the past, this is something to be aware of, we've tossed them out in the grass, but the mat being black gets really hot, and if it's a hot day, it will kill the grass, which we've actually done. So just a learning experience. If you don't want to have dead grass in the shape of the mat, just don't set that mat out in the grass. Just set it away from the house, like on the driveway or on the sidewalk or someplace that is not over grass that could kill it. I do like wearing gloves, so I typically put on workman's barrier on my hands, but then I also wear gloves to protect my hands. And a few of the reasons why your spray guns will get really hot out in the sun, and that you're also grabbing extension ladders, which leave kind of a aluminum dust on your hands. Your hands will get extremely dirty throughout the day, and there's times where I have to run and do bids or meet with customers in the middle of the day, and I don't want to have paint all over my hands and have dirty hands when I'm approaching a customer. So wearing gloves is a practice that I've always done most of my career, and it also makes gripping your tools and your paintbrushes a lot easier, and just ultimately causes less fatigue throughout the day. And if you're going to be doing painting as a career, you want to have a long, enjoyable career. So doing anything and everything you can to create less fatigue is to your benefit. Another thing you might notice on our extension ladders, I made a video on wrapping our ladder boots in plastic, and I know in that video there was a lot of suggestions, people saying using rags, and plastic has always worked really well for me. And you can watch that video just wrapping the ladder boots in plastic. That way, after the paint is dried, your ladder boots won't stick to the paint. This side right here, the house, we sprayed this side, and just the side itself was really weather beaten and sun beaten, and you can see it looks extremely dry. And I went back and sprayed this side of the house 2 more times. I masked it off and sprayed it, to get a more even finish. And that's not lighting that's causing it to look like that. That's just the siding itself. And so we reshot it twice to get an even sheen across that whole side of the house. Getting close to the end of the day, doing trim work. Didn't quite get all the trim done today, but we're going to be coming back for our final day of painting this house, getting it all wrapped up, put back together, everything put back together, and finalize our video series up. I think this is about our sixth video doing this house, me painting solo. I had my daughter, on a few occasions with me, shooting some video, helping out, just moving some ladders for me here and there. But painting the house solo. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video.
All right, we're gonna take a walk around the house, give you a good view of the entire house, and I'm gonna give you some pointers as we walk around the house. I did get some people asking on my social media already the shakes. I'm gonna just talk about the siding here in Idaho. The siding isn't real wood. The shakes are not real cedar shakes. So people are asking me, what I painted the house with, what I paint the shakes with. So the house was painted with a satin paint. It was painted with Glidden premium paint. The body was satin. The shakes, they're not real cedar shakes. They're just a composite material made of the same material the siding is. So I painted them flat because I want them to look like flat shakes. And when it comes to the painting process, I'm just going to talk a little bit about tools and efficiency. And I'll just give you a couple examples. It's best to invest in the proper tools to make painting quicker, more efficient, and more enjoyable. And for instance, hand maskers. You don't want to just have one hand masker, so you've got to keep switching out paper and plastic. That's going to take a whole lot of time doing that. And time is going to take away from fun you could be having at the lake, or time is money as a professional painter. So you should have two hand maskers. If I'm going to be painting this house, I'm going to be spraying multiple colors in one day. Loading and reloading sprayers is going to take a whole lot of time. So using multiple sprayers is a good idea, a good tip or trick. If you can't afford multiple, then you're going to have to load and reload sprayers. But if you can rent two sprayers, if you're going to be spraying two colors, it's going to save you a whole lot of time. I'm going to talk a little bit about tapes and papers. I don't invest in having all kinds of different sizes of tapes and papers, because it's just going to be a lot more confusing for you searching through your vehicle if you're a professional painter, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer. You want 2-inch. The 2-inch isn't near you. You only got 1-inch. You're going to be fumbling around for different size tapes. I just use two size tapes. I use 1-inch and 1.5 inch papers. I use only 9-inch paper, and that's it. I don't use any other size paper. If I need to fold or cut my paper, I fold or cut it. If I need longer paper or wider paper, I just run 2 rows. So I'm going to walk you around the gutters themselves. We didn't have to prime the gutters. So some people are going to ask, do you have to prime metal gutters? These were previously painted, so I didn't have to prime it. The house, the siding was in good condition. There was a little bit of blistering here and there. I did get a lot of people asking me, well, why am I spot priming it? Why don't I just prime the whole house? Well, priming the whole entire house is going to take 10 times more material than it was spot priming, and it would have took about 3 times longer to prime the whole entire house, and it didn't need to be primed. So the spot priming was a lot faster and more efficient. Why didn't I spray it? When I was priming it, the back brushing or back rolling is enhancing adhesion and penetration. So I always like to brush or roll my primer. I had an unusual situation with these windows. The vinyl on, usually your windows are raised higher than the vinyl, and all you got to do is just face the windows. Here I had to mask the windows with frog tape and then cut in the little edge and then roll and face the window. And because I was working solo, if I was working with a team, I would have masked the windows and then sprayed the body, then rolled the trim, pulled it off, and you would only did masking one time. But working solo, I never leave my masking up. I don't want to leave it up for 5 days while I'm painting, so I'm just going to pull it off and remask it. But I'll show you something some people might ask when I'm talking about facing windows. So the face of the window is painted the trim color. So here in Idaho, it's extremely rare to see this side of the trim painted. And I know it does look amazing if you hand cut in this side. a lot of work. And if you're gonna do that, you gotta charge for it. But it's very rare that you do see it. On a house like this, I probably would have charged around $500 to what we call French the windows instead of just facing them. And so they're just faced. So if anybody has any questions why, that's why. Downspouts, we always remove the downspouts so you can paint behind the downspouts. You never want to leave the downspouts up, so you saw me remove downspouts. This side right here, the two sides get really hot, really hard weather. I sprayed them and they still look really dry, overlapping 50%. So I had to respray them to get them to hold out the sheen properly. Now they have a nice satin sheen to them. The back side of the house, not nearly as complicated as the front side of the house. Just straight shot, straight run. Doors, how to pull weather strips out of the doors, mask the doors off, spray the doors. I always spray my doors and never brush and roll the doors because I don't want stippling or brush strokes on the doors. They are smooth doors, so you want them to have a smooth look to them, and you don't want them to be stippled with brush strokes or roller marks. So you don't want to have roping or stippling. Got a run of gutters back here. We sprayed the gutters. Having cardboard shields, I'm using some tools you're seeing in my video, like the cardboard shield holder. Must have tools if you're going to be doing any type of spraying. The cardboards, I just stuck them in the gutters so I don't get any overspray on the roof. Really handy little trick. This thing right here, this is here, the vent for the fireplace. I typically would not paint one of these things. It was already painted. They do get hot, but it's already painted, so I went ahead and painted it. Back here, got a hot tub. Make sure you do not stand on the hot tub covers. They can break. We worked around the hot tub cover. Wasn't very difficult. You can put like a piece of plywood on there so you can get on it. You can put a ladder on there so you can get on it. Plywood is the best thing, like 3/4 inch plywood, and then you can stand on the hot tub cover. So we do got another high side up here, which shakes, dormers. We use some unusual equipment. Pivot makes some tools. The roof is extremely steep and very difficult to get on. I use a pivot roof boot and a pivot gutter guard to lean my ladders on the gutters and then get on the roof. Once you get those roof boots installed and installed properly and an extension ladder hooked into one of those roof boots, it's very comfortable walking on the roof and not nearly as scary. So this side over here, a lot of water damage to this side, sprinklers hitting the side, but there was a lot of hand brushing, peel bond and stuff on here. Tops of windows, you always want to make sure you caulk the tops, brush paint on the tops of the windows. Always masking off things like this with paper so we don't get any overspray on faucets, stuff like that. Come along here, we got some nice crisp lines. By masking, make sure you get nice clean lines on everything when you're painting. Everything's all done. Trim, the body's always sprayed, so we can get the body sprayed quickly. You want to spray large areas, so the body's always sprayed. Trim is typically always hand rolled, brushed and rolled, and the hand rolling is going to add penetration, adhesion. It's going to make it last a lot longer. And hand rolling is a lot quicker and more efficient than actually spraying the trim. But the body itself, we always spray the gutters because we want them to look like a factory finish, when they're done. These gutters were, they were hand brushed and rolled. There's nothing we can do about those brush strokes that were on them. We got all of our lights and everything remounted. I always remove the lights, that way you can paint behind the lights. If the lights, they wanted to replace them, you definitely want to, especially if it's a color change, you don't want to just mask off the light and that, because if they went to change the lights out a year later, there's going to be a color difference there. So, but we do leave a touch-up kit with the customer, typically a quart of the colors, and so they can do any touch-ups, necessarily if they've dinged or anything, mess up the house at all. The house was painted. Once again, it was painted with Glidden premium paint. Somebody's probably going to ask. I used probably, I think, 14 gallons on the body of the house. I went through 4 gallons of trim, And then I went through 2 gallons of the dark accent color. So the shakes is a dark accent color. That was 2 gallons, body 14 gallons, and then 4 gallons on the white trim. There was, some paint from previous painters on the roof. I use, and on the roof, the metal work, I took and just masked that off, resprayed that flat black so that looks fresh and new again, so it doesn't look like I got that overspray on there. There was some white paint on some areas on the roof. I just took my spray paint and just sprayed those white spots with flat black so you can't see those anymore either. So there you have it. The house is all done and complete.
All right, there you have it. The project is all complete. Stay tuned. I got some really cool drone footage that you're gonna get an idea of how big this house was and what it actually took to paint it. So stay tuned for that here in a few seconds. Also, I got a really cool upcoming video series painting a huge commercial building, stucco building, about 15,000 square feet solo. I'm gonna give you some comprehensive tips and tricks, what it took to paint that building. Also, that's coming up here. Stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell that goes along with it. If you don't hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button or somewhere around it, you won't get notified every time I come out with a new video. It's simple, easy to do, and it's always free, like all my YouTube videos and all my content across social media. Stay tuned now. Here comes some really cool drone footage your way.